Good morning, Daiwa fans, and welcome to the 2021 Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. We are here on the shores of Sydney Harbour. It is day one of one of the biggest tournaments on the ABT BREAM calendar. Now, the Open has a rich history, starting in 2004 as a teams event and then evolving into a boater-only multi-venue event. We have 24 anglers fishing this weekend. Let's have a chat to some of the guys and see how they feel about the fishing on offer on Sydney Harbour and the Hawkesbury River. The first angler that we have with us this morning is Daiwa's very own Tommy Slater. Tom, how you feeling, mate?
Yeah, good. Happy to be at the Open again. So we missed it last year, obviously, but yeah, really keen to get on the water. Hopefully the fishing's all right. We'll see if we can find a few.
Now, it's a not a two-day, it's a three-day tournament with two venues, Sydney Harbour on day one and day three, and Hawkesbury on day two. The question is always, which venue do you pre-fish?
I pre-fish the Harbour, figuring you spend 2 days here and 1 day in the Hawkesbury. I don't, to be honest, I don't actually fish either venue that much, even though I live here. I don't have like a milk run of spots like some of the other guys do. I have the ways that I like to catch them, and if hopefully that works today, and if it doesn't, I'll just do a bit of junk fishing and hopefully put a bag together.
Now, Daiwa is very strong these days when it comes to bream gear, and that's very much because of you. You want to give us a bit of an insight in some of the tackle and especially lures, because lures are very hot for us at the moment. Some of the baits you're going to be throwing over the 3 days.
Yeah, for sure. So I think I've got 13 of the new in-feet rods rigged up on the deck. So I've got all sorts of stuff from bait junkie grubs, bait junkie minnows, some hard bodies, some prototype stuff that we're still developing. So hopefully, I lost one of my prototypes the other day, so hopefully I don't lose. I've only got one more. But yeah, there's an assortment of stuff, and Sydney Harbour's such a good venue for that because you can fish every way possible and catch fish. So yeah, 13 rods. I'll probably use all of them today at some stage, and hopefully we'll catch 5 big ones.
So we have a variety of waterways. I assume we're going to get a variety of weather. How much of a role do you think that will play?
I think tides will play a big role. Tides, and if we get reasonable swell and a little bit of wind, I think the front should fish pretty well. If it calms off and it's real glassy, I think it'll be much tougher. But with that high tide in the morning, it's high tide now at the start, the mornings will be key. I think the afternoons will be a lot tougher.
All right, I'm going to get each of the anglers that we talk to give me their tip, and you can't tip yourself. Give me one name. Who do you think is going to do well?
You can't bet against Kris Hickson having 3 bad tournaments in a row. So he's had two average ones to start the year. So I don't think Kris will be far away at the end.
Now, Daiwa, of course, when it comes to tackle, we are very much about raising the level. And we're going to raise the level when it comes to this tournament, the coverage, with the live that we have scheduled throughout the day, 10 until 1 each day. It's a pretty exciting event, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's going to set a new kind of standard or a benchmark, I guess you could say, for coverage of an event, and hopefully we can do it here for the first time and build on it for next year and keep building on it in the years after that. So I'm really looking forward to getting off the water and then go watch the footage back and watch the show. I think it'll be really good.
Well, mate, we can't wait to put it on. It's going to be awesome. Good luck. We'll see you this afternoon. All right, our next angler is a man who's won this event before. He's won it twice. Once in a teams event with your brother Timmy, yep. And then, of course, you won it in the boater-only event.
Yep.
You going to put another one on the mantelpiece?
Oh, I'd love to. There's only been a couple of people that have won 2. I think Ian Cedo back in the day, Kris Hickson's won a couple, and I've won a couple. But such a good field here. It's, in Sydney Harbour, you've got to have 3 good days in a row. It's hard to have 3 awesome days on Sydney Harbour and the Hawkesbury in a row, but hey, that's what we're all trying to do. It's going to be down to good execution and good decisions. And
there's a lot of things about this event that make it unique. I suppose one of the most special things is that we have 2 different venues, Harbour, Hawkesbury, split, gives those fish an opportunity to rest on the harbour.
That's the interesting part. I think you're going to get better and better during this event. This morning got a high now. It's going to be all about crankbaits this morning up on the shallows. When we come back in a couple of days, it's going to be another couple of hours later. So for me, I think that gives me a better window. Look at the rods I was rigging last night. Today's all about crankbaits, stick minnows, topwater and crabs. Not necessarily in that order, but it's going to be whatever the conditions do, want to be able to roll with it. I've got a whole heap of those new Daiwa in-feet rods to give a crack, and hope to be putting a big bend in them today.
So did you have a pre-fish yesterday?
I pre-fished the Hawkesbury yesterday, and awesome. The top water fish were going up Mckeown Creek, so it's going to be hard for me to get in tournament mode and maybe avoid the fun fish and get into the money fish, but we'll see how the balance ends up. My theory is if you're doing what you like, you're going to be switched on more, and that's what we do in the Open. Back to the last Open I won, it was on top water, so got to go what you're good at.
All right. We asked Tommy for a tip. I'm going to ask you the same thing. Who do you think's going to feature?
I reckon momentum's a big thing in fishing, and Jamie Mckeown, he's so patient. He worked out those tarwine on the bridge up at Lake Macquarie. He's got that reefy fishes down at the mouth here that we've all driven past for like 15 years. He has got the patience to sit there and convert those fish. If he only gets 5 bites a day, he'll fish there and do it. None of us have got the attention span to do that, so go to Queenslanders.
There we go. Let's move on. We'll chat to our next angler. And it's a guy that we're not used to seeing on the BREAM Tour. We're used to seeing him with a flipping stick in his hand catching bass at Glenbourne. It is Peter Phelps, one of our Daiwa pros in the field. Pete, this is a BREAM tournament. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am actually. Don't expect me to be flipping any jigs today, but I'll be going to have a bit of fun out there. Caught a few fish yesterday, so yeah, no big ones, so we'll see how we go.
Now, BREAM fishing isn't completely foreign to you. You've done a lot of it over the years. What baits are you inclined to be throwing today?
I'm a reaction sort of bait guy, so I'll have a crankbait in my hand probably pretty early. And then once that sort of tide gets down, I'll probably just go to a bait junkie crab, I'd say, and sort of just cast around some docks and rock walls and see what happens, I suppose. I will probably throw a crab. I didn't catch many on it yesterday, but that cranker crab just gets the big fish here in the harbour, so yeah, it's hard not to throw one.
And you're staying at Tommy's place, so he would have teed you up with plenty of bait junkies last night?
Yeah, for sure. I've got a pretty good, healthy supply there. Actually, I'm still running a couple from Lake Macquarie. I super glued the jig heads in, and they're pretty hardy. They last.
All right, we've asked our guys a tip. Who's your tip?
Who's going to win this? Yeah. You can't really go past Hixson. He's just an absolute fish catching machine. He just knows these places, like the back of his hand. So I think it's Kris's turn to win this one.
And he's been in a pretty rough patch of form of late, so I'm sure he's going to turn it around. We might move up and chat to him now. We're going to leave our defending champion, Jamie Mckeown, until the very end. Kris, nice of you to join us this morning. We thought you'd slept in.
No sleeping in. I had to go get coffee and bacon and egg rolls.
That sounds like a Hixson morning. How you feeling about it, mate?
Pretty good, eh? Yeah, it's well, it can't be much worse than the last 2 events I just had, so it's got to come good sooner or later.
So what do you do? Like you are one of the most consistent anglers on the tour, but that consistency sort of hasn't been with you the last event. How do you turn it around?
Just go fishing. Just do what I do and hope that they're there. Pretty much. It's one of those things you have ups and downs in it in fishing, especially. It's just a matter of going out there and being confident and catching the fish you need to.
Now I'm looking at the deck of your boat, and it does not look like your boat. You usually have like 32 rods rigged. I see 2. What's going on?
They're in the locker still. And you just got here. They were the 2 I rigged last night because they had to change a couple of things. So no, I'll have a fair quiver on the deck. Just Sydney Harbour is such a vast place and so many options. I like to have one of everything tied on, so they'll be there.
So what are the money baits you're going to have tied on over the 3 days? Of course, 2 different venues, the Harbour and Hawkesbury, slightly different fisheries. What are you going to be throwing?
I think the staple from the practice day was just a grub, just a bait junkie grub on a light jig head. That sort of caught fish wherever I went yesterday. Cranker crabs, of course, you're going to have some of them tied on, and definitely a few deep diving cranks like a rolling crank or a spike for when that tide's up.
Now, I've been chatting to the guys this morning and I've been getting them to give me a tip who they think will do well. Your name has featured twice. You can't tip yourself, so who are you tipping?
If that big sea push some fish in down the bottom, I reckon Jamie will go back to back, to be honest. If those fish are on that deeper structure, he's the one to catch them. So if it doesn't tune up the harbour and upriver in the Hawkesbury, we're going to do it tough.
He's on a good run of form at the moment. Only a fool would bet against him. Good luck, mate.
Cheers, mate.
So let's wander on down and we'll talk to the man that we've just been chatting about, Jamie Mckeown. Now, Jamie's in great form at the moment, fresh from a win last weekend at Lake Macquarie. Defending champion, didn't get to defend that title last year, won it 2 years ago. Jamie, how you feeling, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, pretty good this morning, so we'll see what happens. So just go out there and go fishing, catch 5, and hopefully the big ones connect.
Now, I was chatting to Morgo the other night and he was giving me the rundown on how you caught your fish and what fish you caught at Lake Mac. Tarwine. in deep water, fast running water. What a great warm-up event for this event.
Yeah, like fishing crabs is my thing. I love it. So it's and fishing towards the entrance of a waterway is something that I love to do too. So it was it was good practice. It was battling those big things. So we'll see how we go today.
Now, 2 years ago when you won this event, you were fishing east of the bridge, deep water, heavy crabs. There's no secrets after a win. People know what you did. Do you think you're going to have a bit of company there today?
Oh, I'd say so after seeing what was going on yesterday in pre-fish. So no doubt.
It's a very specialist technique. It's not an easy thing to do to fish those crabs on really heavy weights in fast water.
Yeah.
You probably dialed in them better than anybody I've ever come across.
Yeah, it's just one of them things. You just got to trial and error pretty much, really. So, I spent a bit of time just working on things and thinking about things of what's a bit different, what can work better than what I already do. So, and it's just see how it goes.
And Hawkesbury, day 2, what's the plan? You don't have to give too much away.
Mate, there's nothing different that's going to happen. I don't get down here to fish, so I'm just going to do what I did 2 years ago. The only thing that may play a factor is I think the swell's going to be fairly well up coming out of pit water, so coming back on the run out tide might be a bit sketchy, but we will see.
Well, you got plenty of V in the hull and you got plenty of power on the back. You'll get back nice and safe. Good luck, mate. Flying the flag for the Queenslanders there, Jamie Mckeown, defending champion and fresh from a victory last weekend. This is going to be a really interesting day 1. All right, so who have we got? We've got Cromo and Michael. Is that Michael there? We've got 10 minutes, we've got 12 minutes. Michael!
He's just over there.
Where?
Dave, you able to go and have a chat to Mike? Pull up on the... We'll have a chat to Cromo and then we'll talk to him.
We'll just get Michael and then we'll do the 2 of you guys. Yeah, do we want to wait till they're both together, then we can go from one to the other? Morning, mate. All right, he should be here by the time we finish with Crompton.
Just start talking whenever you're ready.
All right, we are going to chat to another one of our Daiwa BREAM Crows. It is Mark Crompton, former winner of this event. Cromo, we have not seen you on the tournament trail much over the last couple of years. Nice to have you back.
Yeah. Well, it was only 1 year. Come on, give me a break. We had.
I've been gone longer than you have.
Yeah, fair call. That's a fair call. So no, we had the best year we could have possibly have off. We had our little boy Alvy, and it was a good year to take off because the events pretty much didn't run. So we jagged that.
Your
one.
timing was impeccable.
I predicted it. Yeah. So anyway.
Now, as I mentioned, you have won this event before, and it was a close event, that one, and we had the roller coaster of emotions with you. And I'm sure it's going to be like that again over the next 3 days. How do you think it's going to play out fishing-wise?
Well, look, that's why we fish this. You never really know. You always used to think you got to get 3 kilos each day to be within a shot. That's completely changed now, and that's what makes it fun. There's a lot of. I love the single angler style of it. You're the only one on the boat that's. You're into it. You're doing it. Whether you've got an observer on your boat or no, you're focused. That's it's the pinnacle of events. That's what really makes it.
It is the ultimate challenge on the BREAM Tour. It's you. In your case, you have an observer with you, no non-boater, there's nowhere to hide. In a lot of cases, you've got a camera pointing at you. Some people wilt under that pressure, others go, bring it on.
Look, I've definitely found myself a bit past that now. I'm comfortable with it. It's definitely a learning curve that you have to get through. But for me now, I don't even think about it anymore. I made an idiot of myself early on in the days and, come to terms with the fact that, I grew up a fat kid, and I got teased, and it was easier to tease yourself first before someone else did it. So like it's like that. Makes it easier on yourself.
I wasn't necessarily the fat kid, but I was a short kid, so it was always important to get it with a short chaser for anybody else. No rods on your deck at the moment. What do you got tucked away in there? What lures you got tied on?
I've got this morning I'll be keeping. Look, I always say don't reinvent the wheel, just put mags on it. You know what I mean? So I'll just be running the basics that everybody runs, but I'll be chucking it 10 times harder and 10 times faster because I won't have to retie. I'll have 4 or 5 rods rigged with the same thing. I'll have my crabs, my grubs, a few minnows on, and just punch them hard all day. So I think that's the key here, is not messing around, changing things up, trying to, you know what works. If it's not biting, it's not biting. Move on to the next bit and just keep pumping it.
Now, you love your Daiwa rods and reels. How many have we got tucked away in those hatches there?
I think I got about 20. So they're not rigged.
Just a couple.
They're not rigged. So no, there's 20 rods in there. 10 in this one, 10 in that one, and I will use them all today. I know I will. Hopefully I don't, because I'd like to be able to leave a few rigged for tomorrow that I don't have to worry about tonight. A few of them on straight through, so you don't have to worry about those ones. But it does become a bit of a pain at the end of the day. But during the day, you want it. You need it. It's especially in this, like I say, punch. If I snap one off, I'm better off sitting down for 5 minutes and rigging 5 rods than doing one, then one. Then just do it. Punch. Keep the lure in the water.
And I suppose it also, when you do that, it gives you a chance to have a bit of a break.
Yeah.
Maybe reset mentally and get your head back in the game.
Yeah. Tying and rigging does your head in. So, but it's that's how I found cutting the time down to maximise my time casting. That's for me, that's the best way.
It's all about angling efficiency when you only have 7 hours on the water. Yep. Want a tip from you? Who you backing?
I'd like to think someone would come through that hasn't had the level before. I'd like to see someone new come through and really raise some eyebrows. I'd love to see someone like Wally Fay or a couple of the other guys.
We want a new champ to come along and kick the door down.
Yeah, look, I was a new face that won it once upon a time, and it did some great things for my sponsors, and these guys are sponsored. I'd like to see them be able to push their sponsors forward too. The same faces all the time gets monotonous, so someone new would be good.
We want to mix it up.
Yep.
You've got some Guzman and Gomez there for breakfast. I better let you go have it. All right, we have one more angler to chat to, and he potentially is one of those new faces that's going to come along. He's been knocking on the door for quite some time. He's busy doing an Instagram update at the moment by the look of it, and it is Michael Collatoras. I first remember seeing Michael at the Savannah as a young 16-year-old. He'd come down with his dad to watch the weigh-in, still at high school. He's now a married man. Yep. He's got the flash bat, the brim rig.
Yep, that's
Michael, how you feeling, mate?
Good, yeah. I'm actually pretty nervous, to be honest with you, just which is a bit surprising because this is my backyard. And just the app format. So I'm not worried about finding them. It's just more so the time it's going to take to put the fish in the app and whatnot. But the butterflies are there, that's for sure. So it's good.
Butterflies is a good motivator. It always it sharpens your craft. What baits are you going to be throwing? I think I can see a cranker crab down there.
Correct. So this is a crab fishery, so I'll just be throwing gulp crabbies and cranker crabs all weekend pretty much. If they're if they're not really taking the crabs well, I'm going to be probably throwing some hard bodies around under structure, so get a bit of a reaction bite going. So yeah.
Pretty stout field of competitors we've got, isn't it?
Best of the best. That's why I think the butterflies are there, to be honest. But yeah, no, it's good. Everyone really knows their stuff here, and with all this rain, I think it's going to make the fish bite. So.
Well, I'm going to add a few more butterflies to the belly. We have 12 grand in total that we're going to give away. The winner will take home a $5,000 cheque. Nice. Who do you pick to grab that $5,000 cheque? Who's your tip?
Look, I'd like to say it's me, but I don't I don't think it is going to be me. I think Jamie's really unstoppable. He's really dialed in with crab fishing.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to kick everyone's ass again this weekend. But I'd say Jamie, Steve, Mark, even Kris Hickson. They're always going to be up there. So I'll be on their tails, that's for sure.
All right, mate.
Chasing them down.
Good luck on your home waterway. So there we are, folks. Michael Collatoras, a nervous man heading into day one of the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open.
give you a message when we're going to go live and whatnot.
Do they plug into the phone or?
They should, if you're on your Bluetooth, they should come up as there. Yeah, just so we get better audio and you can hear us a bit easier. It'll only be for 10 or 15 minutes. Thank you. We'll give you a message. It'll be after 10. Nice flight. Very nice. It's exciting.
Yeah, hell yeah. What do you think? Still on?
Some of that salt water.
Yeah, button off. Put it on just before we start.
22, Frank Carabita. Number 23, Colin Moranti. Lucky last, number 24, Michael Collatoras.
So there we are, folks. All 24 of our competitors are away on day one of the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. Now, this event's a little bit different than what the normal ABT events are. There is no traditional weigh-in at the end of the day. Instead, the anglers will be fishing with the live app, so we can track their scores throughout the day. One of the other great new things that we're going to do for this tournament is that we will have live coverage throughout the day. From 10 a.m. through to 1 p.m, you'll see me on the screen chatting to the anglers and reviewing some of the footages and the catches that come through. So it's going to be a really special event. Make sure you tune in from 10 a.m. Happy Tuesday, tournament fans, and welcome to the 2021 Daiwa BREAM Grand Final. We are at Daiwa HQ, and it's a special day here at Daiwa, and it's a special day for the ABT tournament scene. Of course, you've just seen the recap of the takeoff from the start this morning down at Drummoyne Sailing Club. Beautiful conditions greeted anglers for the opening day of the Daiwa BREAM Grand Final. Now, the Daiwa BREAM Grand Final is an event that we've had on the ABT. Sorry. Let's try the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. Now, that's an event that we've had on the calendar for many, many years. It started in 2004, initially as a teams event. Then we took a bit of a break for a few years and it came back with a vengeance. Thank you to Graham Franklin. And it became one of the premier events on the calendar, a boater-only 3-day tournament on 2 separate venues. Today, they are fishing Sydney Harbour. Tomorrow, they head north off to the Hawkesbury River. And on day 3, Thursday, they return once again to Sydney Harbour. Now, it's a big event. It's very much a marathon, this, and they earn their money. All up, the 24 anglers will be fishing for $12,000 in cash. Our champion angler will win $5,000, and we have cheques all the way down to 5th place. And we have 5 big BREAM prizes for the tournament as well. An assortment of great Daiwa in-feet rods, and there's a reel in the kitty as well. Now, this event's a special one for us because we have raised the bar when it comes to the media coverage that we are doing. Quite often in the past, we've done a lot of live streaming of the anglers on board to our YouTube pages. Today, we're going to mix it up and we're going to change what we do. So we have an in-studio component, me chatting to you guys at home. In addition to that, we're going to cross to our anglers live on the water, see what they're doing. We're going to review some of the catches that they've had so far throughout the day and that they get throughout the day and they will send through to us here. So we have plenty of great stuff in store for you and I'm really looking forward to it. Now, What is the BREAM Australian Open? Well, as I said, it's a 3-day tournament. Anglers start at 7 a.m. each morning. They fish through until 2 p.m. This event, no traditional live fish weigh-in at the end of the day. Unfortunately, COVID has kiboshed the traditional weigh-ins that we do. So we are running the tournament based on the ABT app. So that means we have a live scoreboard scrolling, so you can sit at home or at work, checking them on your smartphone and see who's doing what out on the water each day of the tournament. Live coverage, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. each day. And of course, as I mentioned, the tournament concludes at 2 p.m. each afternoon. And we also have lined up our anglers to chat to each night, 7 p.m. each night. We'll do a recap, chat to our top two, day 1 and day 2. And of course, on day 3, we'll chat to our champion angler all up. So our anglers got stuck in nice and early this morning. Our first fish came through on the app just after 7 o'clock. 7:06, I think, was the exact time. Luke Rogan was the first angler to lodge a fish onto the app. And what we might do is we're going to do a bit of a recap of what some of the anglers have done. The standout fish that we've had come through is Brett Penpraise. 38.5 centimetres was his standout fish. And it weighed 1.24 kilos. So we're going to get some vision of that up very soon. But that is a stunning way to kickstart your Australian Open. Brett can be a bit of a dark horse. He doesn't always get onto the fish, but he's certainly got onto them so far this morning, and he will be he'll be over the moon with that solid fish. So there's a constant string of fish coming through. If you want to keep track of what's going on, of course, we are live streaming from the studio here. You can see that via the Daiwa YouTube page and also by the ABT Tournament's Facebook page. So if you jump there, you can see the vision of what we have, and you can also access the live scoreboard via the ABT website, abt.org.au. Now, I'm not the only one involved in the broadcast. I've got the easy job pretty much. I get to sit in front of the camera and chat for about 3 hours about what's going on. We have a team of people behind the camera. Many people compiling the content that we are going to share with you over the next 3 days. So they're busy getting all the little grabs together that we can show you. So we're going to have some live, not some live just yet, but we're going to have some recorded video from earlier today that we're going to share with you very soon. Now I'm going to bring up the scoreboard here, and we're going to have a bit of a peruse to see who's done what. Now every angler has lodged a fish so far on the app. As I mentioned, Luke Rogan from Queensland was the first angler to lodge a fish through. So we might do a bit of a recap of the top 5 so far. Everybody in the top 5 has their full limit, 5 fish each day. Holding down 5th place at the moment, we have Daniel Bonacorso, a Sydney local and a man who has done very well on this venue in the past. He is sitting there with 3.39 kilos. In 4th place, Liam Carruthers, 5 fish for 4.58. Let's do a refresh here and make sure that we've got, bear with me folks, the joys of doing things live and dealing with technology. I'm just waiting for that load up again. Now we can also field some questions from you as well too via our YouTube page. Feel free to pop questions or comments in there. All right, so there we are. See the live scoreboard on the screen. In 5th place, we have Liam Carruthers, 5 fish for 2.75 kilos. Kris Hickson is holding down 4th with 2.988 kilos. Blake O'Grady, talk about a dark horse, 5 fish for 307. And in 2nd place, we have Mr. Malfood with 5 fish for 3.23 kilos. And the number 1 spot, the man who really kicked the door down once again this morning, Jamie Mckeown, 5 fish for 4.512. Now, Jamie is actually the defending champion. He won this event 2 years ago. I'm going to have a look at some of his stats from his victory 2 years ago. Bear with me. Now, Jamie has been in a rich vein of form of late. Now, he's fresh from a tournament last week, Lake Macquarie, one of the rounds of the Daiwa BREAM Series. He won that event. He got to have a bit of a sleep in yesterday morning, and he's back at it today. So when Jamie won 2 years ago, he weighed a 3-day limit of 13.47 kilos, and it was the heaviest bag that we've ever had at a BREAM Australian Open. It gave him an average of 4.49 kilos. And of course, he did it fishing cranker crabs, and that is very much Jamie's strength, fishing crabs down deep. He did it last weekend at Lake Mac, and he'll be doing it again this morning. So he has 5 for 4.52. His average last year was 4.49. So he is right on to repeat what he did 2 years ago. You'd be a brave man to bet against Jamie. He's definitely the man to chase. Now, I believe we may have some vision to show of Jamie. Now, of course, the anglers have 7 hours to catch their fish, but it's always nice to get your limit nice and early, and that's exactly what Jamie has done, and we can see him on the screen there right now. Down at Sour and Pigs, fishing those crabs down deep.
Nice one, mate.
Solid start to day one. Now, many of the anglers have observers on board today. Now, the observers can't assist the angler in any way when it comes to fishing, manoeuvring and controlling the boat. Essentially, their function is to be our media person, and that's exactly what they're doing there. Great footage of Jamie catching that solid fish. Jamie logging his fish into the app there. And it's a very simple process for the anglers. So they'll catch a fish, they will measure it on the ABT ruler that they've given. They'll take a photo of the fish with their phone, and then they will log it through to the app. It comes through to us here at HQ. We verify the catch, we hit submit, and then it disappears into the live scoreboard, and you see the scores on your screen. So Jamie Mckeown there, he is leading after day one, and we are 3.5 hours into the session, and he has 4.5 kilos. So he is on track for a great tournament once again here in the BREAM Australian Open. Now, I mentioned earlier that Brett Penpraise caught a great fish this morning. I think we may have some vision as well. Brett's observer was good enough to get some footage for us.
All right. Now, film it.
Here we go, on the screen now.
I reckon this will go maybe about 38, 39 centimetres.
Yeah. Concentrating.
If I don't pull it from.
Beautiful conditions.
He came out of no water too. He came out about 10 centimetres of water. Or probably, maybe 2 foot, sorry. 60 centimetres of water.
Racing to the match. Look at this moment.
Yeah. Woo! Well done.
It's a donkey.
You.
That is a donkey.
Yeah. Woohoo.
I'll get a photo.
Wow, what a way to kickstart your Australian Open. Well done, Brett. And as he said, it came out of about 10 centimetres of water. I'm assuming it was on the top water nice and early this morning when that light was low and the fish were still mooching in the shallow. So good job there, mate. Michael Collatoras was one of the other anglers who had a great start this morning. I'm going to scroll down the scoreboard and see where Mick is sitting at the moment. He's sitting in 12th place, 5 fish for 208, and I believe that his observer may have sent us some footage through as well.
Yeah, got him. Yes. He's close to it. Oh, no.
Nice fish. And of course, we chatted to Michael pre-takeoff, and he very much said Sydney Harbour was a crab fishery. So I would bet my firstborn child that fish was caught on a crank of crabs. So Some anglers are really starting their day in fine form, and well done. So it's going to make for a really interesting session. But as I said, Jamie Mckeown, wow, what a way to start your title defence. 5 fish for 4.5, and he is on to defend his title that he won at this event 2 years ago. So well done. But we still have plenty of time to go. So it's going to make for a great day. So what we might do at the moment, we might take a bit of a quick break. We are going to come back, and what we're going to do when we come back is we're going to have one of our anglers live on the water. We are going to dial up Steve Morgan, have a chat to him and see how he's going. So don't go away. We're going to be right back.
You'll have the chance for showers or thunderstorms, and also little disturbances rumbling along this thing will bring us a chance for rain.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. Great day, and a great day to be out tournament fishing. Our anglers got away at 7 o'clock this morning, and they are plying the waters of Sydney Harbour in search of their 5 largest fish. As we did in the recap earlier, we ran through who was doing what. And of course, as we expected, the standout angler so far has been Jamie Mckeown. He's out the front with 5 fish for 4.512 kilos. We have Steve Morgan about to join us. We chatted to Steve this morning at the takeoff, and he essentially said he was going to go out, go fishing, and have fun, and that's generally the way it rolls for Morgo. And more often than not, he puts the quality fish in the well. Currently, he's sitting in 15th place, 5 fish for 1.862 kilos. Morgo is definitely a guy who loves a shallow and early morning bite, so I'm expecting he's probably throwing a few top waters out there, although that sun's getting a bit high, so he may have stashed those top waters away by now and reached for his much-loved crankbait. So, Nicole, I think we're just about ready to get Steve. Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, good morning, guys.
How are you?
Good. It was such a rocket start this morning. I was just listening to your intro there, and you said, first fish was caught at 7:06. That was me, but it was Luke Rogan. I got a 33 centimetre fish on a bet minnow, like the second cast of the day. And unfortunately, we had a little bit of a camera fail and didn't get we took photos of things instead of taking videos. But I thought, oh, wow, we're going to have an awesome day today. 33 centimetre fish straight up. It choked the bet minnow down. And then it sort of, I didn't pre-fish here yesterday, so I thought, oh, should I fish shallow now or should I go deep? I planned to crankbait some banks down in the lower harbour, but by the time I got sucked into the bent minnowing for about half an hour, I reckon the tide was too low. So I've been sort of chasing my tail a little bit since. I've put together a limit, but it's a 33 centimetre fish and 4 absolute squeakers. So I'm just sort of trying to regather at the moment. I'm up the Parramatta River. It's sunny. It's not too windy. I'm going to crankbait some boats and just see if I can follow this current around and find somewhere to get this, to get a pattern going again. I've got a limit, but 2 kilo limit or whatever it is, it's not going to be big enough to contend in the Open. I need to throw out 3 or 4 of those little 24, 23 centimetre fish and put in some proper ones like the one I just heard about you talking about with Brett Penpraise. Good to see Brett getting on the board with the cracker. He's definitely put the time in.
Now, cranking on the harbour is something that you've done a lot of in the past. You've won BREAM Grand Finals, you've won Opens. What is the ideal time? Are you waiting for a bit more current before you go to those prime spots and hopefully get that prime bite?
Yeah, no, the bus left for that a few hours ago. So, ideally, I want to have a nice high tide up on the shallow banks down in the lower part of the harbour. And when I went there, it was already running out the tide. There was a bit of sun. The fish had already departed. So the crankbaiting I'm doing at the moment is, and you can see it up in front here, I'm finding the old boats on the Parramatta River. I'm sort of pulling up beside them. I'm throwing a crankbait down beside those boats, and I'm trying to tease the fish out. And it's a bit of a pattern that's developing now. I've sort of got, a few fish in the last half hour. And what you do is this: you throw your crankbait down beside the boat on the shady side generally, and I'm just sort of twitching that along the side of the boat. I'm looking underneath with my Garmin live scope, and often I can see those fish sitting under the boat. There's none sitting under this one on the live scope now, but they're coming up and they're chomping the crankbait. There's just not enough size to them yet to do it properly. And as usual, I think I'm suffering a little bit from, I chose not to pre-fish the harbour. I pre-fished the Hawkesbury because I love fishing the Hawkesbury so much. And I thought, well, fish one day in the Hawkesbury, then I'll work out the harbour as I go, and then I'll be really prepared for tomorrow, and we can bring it home on the last day. As we know in the past, that's worked. This morning hasn't worked yet, and you can see by my placing, it's still to come together.
When you're cranking the boats, do you find the bright sun as a help or a hindrance? Does the bright sun then concentrate them tighter to that shade?
Yeah, the theory is that on a bright, sunny, windless day like today, there's no fish up on the flats anymore. They're afraid of predation, so they come and sit in the darkest areas, and that happens to be in the shade of the boat. So it's something that, a good friend of yours and mine, Craig Simmons, he was always really good at this, and he said when it's bright, sunny, that's when you want to go under the boat. So I'm sort of channeling my inner Simo at the moment. Retrospectively, that may not be the best plan in the whole world. But I came up the top of the river here looking for some current on the bridges. There was another boat fishing the bridges, so I'm just sort of starting at the moment. And you know what this fishing game's like. You can get onto a good pattern in half an hour. You can get healthy in a hurry. I'm not saying we're going to have a Jamie Mckeown-like bag today, but I think if I can get anywhere over 3 kilos, I'm going to do my job today, which is staying in the Derby. There's no guarantee that anyone's going to catch a big bag every day. So if today I get 3 kilos and that's my bad day, then there's nothing wrong with that since I've had a fairly slow start.
Now, you and I caught up last week and had a bit of a chat as a lead into this event. And we were talking about Sydney Harbour and what an impressive fishery is. 2004, as I mentioned, was the first time that we came to this waterway, and it really blew our socks off how good it is. It just holds in. It's such a quality waterway, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of fish in this joint, and I think it's for several reasons. One, I think there's no commercial fishing on this area, but also, especially up the river here, there's a lot of heavy metal pollution in the river. So fisheries, and they give you a pamphlet, and there's only X amount of species Y. And my theory is if you can only got to eat a certain amount before you start going sideways, don't eat any of it. So it's sort of got a little bit of natural protection in that area. Also, it's a very urban waterway. There's so much structure in here. There's flats, there's docks, there's boats. There's literally a million places for bream to live and grow up, and that's why it's such a stronghold for bream. If you're a brimmer and you haven't fished Sydney Harbour, you got to come and do it. Like I've caught 5 or 6 fish, had a few bust offs today. It's fishing tough for me, but I'm still catching fish, and that's what's good about this joint.
Now, I want to drill down a little bit with the gear that you're using, and I suppose in many ways we could call you Mr. Crankbait. You were very much the guy that sort of, drove it hard on the Bream Tour. You're fishing straight through long before any of the guys had ever heard of it. What is your ideal rod and reel setup for cranking bream?
Well, I'll talk about through the one I've got here at the moment. This is one of the new Daiwa in-feet crankbait rods. They're the crankbait ones because they're blue. That's the secret. I don't understand much about how in-feets are named, but I do understand that the blue ones are the crankbait rods. So I've got that matched with a Caldia, and I've got some 3 pounds straight through fluorocarbon on. So a lot of people nowadays use the braid and the leader, but I've got the straight through fluorocarbon. I've got an SX40 on the end of it, and I'm just sort of twitching it through these the shady sides of these boats, and the bites are pretty gentle, when they'll just sort of pick it up and grab it, unless there's a school of fish, in which case they'll grab it and run as fast as they can to try and get that morsel away from all of their mates. I suppose this is one of the few situations when I am actually jerking a crankbait for yellowfin. Normally I'll just slow roll that crankbait and they'll just jump on, but beside these boats, jerking it actually makes it run a little shallower in the water, and ideally I want that lure to be running just under where that hull is there. I don't want them to have to go down for it. I want to be looking up, see it, come and grab it. So if you're going to ask me what the rest of my day is going to look like, if we can get a pattern going on this as I move down and the wind maybe picks up and the water gets clearer, this pattern has potential to be pretty good as the day goes on. It's definitely not going to die out. If it's going to go now, it'll maybe get stronger during the day. So, which is why I'm trying to stick with it. If I had my time again though today, man, I'm up in urban Sydney and there are cicadas buzzing everywhere. And if I was to have my time again, I'd throw the bent minnow for the first half hour, but then I'll go straight up Middle Harbour and I'll go cicada fishing all day, because I would rather be cicada fishing than throwing this crankbait in the dirty old river trying to catch a bream slightly bigger than 24 centimetres. I should be up there trying to catch, 35 to 40 centimetre fish and doing it on top water. So you're quite entitled to say, Morgo, what the hell are you doing right now doing this?
Is that perhaps a bit of an insight into what you might do tomorrow on the Hawkesbury? Go chase cicada eating fish?
100%. When I pre-fished up there, the cicada bite was going strong. There's nothing like the side of a big blue nose bream come up and just annihilate a cicada. So, have I made the best decisions today? No. Am I going to make good decisions tomorrow? Hell yes.
That's what we like to hear, a positive attitude. So, Stephen Morgan, having a great day at work. It, of course, is day one of the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. Good job, mate. All the best. We'll chat to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Watch that scoreboard. I'm going this way.
There we are. Steve's having a great time. Perhaps lamenting some of his choices this morning, but he's never a man to give up, and he's always a glass half kind of guy. So he will have a really good second back end to this session. Now I'm looking at the time here; it is nearly 11 o'clock. So.
One of our recent clients got into his first investment property without any extra out-of-pocket expenses. We refinanced and we put him in a much better place, that even with buying a new investment property, he was actually paying less than what he was paying on his current mortgage.
So now we have the 2 properties and not paying a cent more, which is just brilliant.
They've helped us basically secure 3 properties over a 5-year process.
Now onto our 3rd property, hopefully onto our 4th. And one of the most important things in our strategy is having good team members around us, and Neil's been a driving force and one of the biggest components of us being able to achieve what we're onto now.
I'm Neil Carstairs from Mortgage Corp, your property investment mortgage specialist. To find out how I can help you save money, stress less, and help you plan ahead, go book a strategy session at mortgagecorp.com.au.
Yeah, and it's got a nice short handle. Awesome. G'day, Steve Morgan here, Australian Bass Tournaments. It's a pretty special day for me because I'm in Sydney, a place I love to fish for bream, and I've got a hold of the new Daiwa in-feet series of rods. We've commandeered Tom Slater's boat today. He designed these things and we get a few hours to come and fish my favourite place in the world, Middle Harbour, for bream. Because I've got Tommy's boat, I get to raid his tackle box, and I found this dirty old imitation stick minnow here. It's a great technique in winter. Let's put this top of the line $500 in feet to the test. So that is a couple of casts into the new Daiwa in feet. This is the EX model, the top of the line. It's a pretty nice rod, but Sydney, welcome back, it says. Check out that lovely bream on a little sinking stick bait. That soft action just keeps those little hooks in, and these aren't flash hooks, they're pretty ordinary, those hooks. Keeps it in, keeps the fish on, love it. Now we've caught a couple of fish early on the stick minnows. We've got the crankbait out, a little deep diving crankbait there, and this one here is the 7'4". This is the middle one, the Z range. Very slow action, perfect for crankbaits, and that is a perfect place to throw one. There's a real difference between between casting a fast action rod and a slow action rod for bream. These light lures, you really let the rod do the work with these slow actions. You need to really just let it load up, let it catapult it out there, whereas people are used to, with a fast action rod, really having to get that rod tip speed up. You don't need to do it on these ones. I don't know if it's just Sydney or if it's the in-feet, but check that out. One of the things about Sydney is Sydney people are often killjoys. Look at this, they've scraped all of the oysters off this bridge. The lure manufacturers really, really hate it, but it does make it easy to get a cast along here. Ooh, bait. There it is. And even though the oysters are gone, the bream aren't. And there's that crankbait rod again, that nice soft action. That's typical of this whole in-feet range. They got the actions just right for the techniques. This is quite a dark local fish. I reckon this one must live on the bridge the whole time. Got that bronzy sheen to him. And smash that little crankbait. But this is the mid-level in-feet here. $350 price point. It's got the silicon carbide stainless steel frame guides down below, but when you get to the top and you can see these different binding colours here, they're the titanium frame ones, and that just helps you with your casting. On the slow rods, any less weight that you can have in the top half of the rod is going to help that casting action, and feels great in the hand, and this thing throws a crankbait really nicely. So sun's come up a little bit now and we're on to our third technique of the day. We're going to fish some of the new Daiwa, the bait junkie plastics, floating, stretchy material on one of the EX series in-feeds here. I've chosen a shorter model now. It's the 7 foot and it's a fast action, so a lot more suitable to popping these things up off the bottom. This one's rigged on a 1/6 of an ounce head, and I've sort of rigged it a little bit weedless to throw up amongst the rocks here, and let's see how the stiffer versions of these in-feeds go.
G'day Daiwa fans, Tom Slater here. We're up the back of the Hawkesbury, just fishing some of these sandy plats with the brand new in-feet slippery dog lures. I've got the 80mm tied on here. We're looking for a couple whiting. Hopefully we'll get stuck into a few in the next couple of hours. Alright, so we've just taken a break for a second. I want to show you the size comparison between the original 65 slippery dog and the brand new 80 size. So a couple of things we've done differently with the slippery dogs this year. We've actually tuned both of them. So they're now the in-feet slippery dog. They all come with BKK striker assist hooks as standard on the rear of the feet now, and BKK treble hooks in the middle. But the big change is what we've done is you'll see in the back here there's that single ball, and we've changed that ball now to tungsten, so it makes the lure sit a lot more vertical in the water when paused. But obviously when we're whiting fishing we're winding constantly. What that helps do is just keep that tail down, keeps the nose up, and gets that nice skating action across the top. So much better action on a fast retrieve with these new TG tuned slippery dogs. 65 and the 80. The 80's working really well this morning. We'll keep going. So while I'm fishing this new slippery dog 80, I thought I'd just take a time to explain a little bit about why we decided to add that to the range. So the 65's been a really good fish catcher for everyone, but in the rougher water you really needed that little bit bigger. So rougher water generally means a bit of wind, and that casting distance you get with the new 85 weighing almost just over 6.5 grams, it really punches into the wind nicely, and that little bit more weight just makes it a bit more stable in the rough water, and certainly those whiting really love it. Alright, another little one, nothing special, but it just proves that when you're topwater fishing for whiting, the size of the lure is not that important. This is an 80mm lure, and the whiting's not that much bigger than that, to be honest. But they certainly don't shy away from the bigger lures, and that 80mm slippery dog, he wanted it. Get him back, get another one. There we go. Just put a cast up there under that shallow bit of sand. Got ourselves a nice little whiting. That's a better one. That's the ammonite colour, nice clear one. Got that little bit of blue on the belly, and again he got those stingers perfectly in the bottom of the lip there. A nice little whiting, not a thumper, but certainly a nice fish on the top. Doesn't get much better than that.
Welcome back. We are live at day one of the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open, and we are at Daiwa HQ. Our anglers are out on the water, and they have been out there on Sydney Harbour since 7 o'clock this morning. We've chatted to some of the guys. We spoke to Steve Morgan just before to see how his day is unfolding so far. And of course, we did a review of the scoreboard. Jamie Mckeown, our defending champion, won this event 2 years ago. He has started his title defence in grand style. He's sitting in the number 1 spot with 5 fish for 4.52, and in the last 5 minutes he's at a 32.5 and another 29 to his limit. So I'm looking at his score sheet at the moment. He has a 102, and this is the weights: a 102, a 98, an 85, an 85, and 81. So they are the 5 fish in his limit at the moment. So a great start by Jamie there, and we're going to cross to him very soon and have a bit of a chat to him and see how he's going. Of course, I'm expecting that he's going to be fishing where he won this event 2 years ago, and that is the Sow and Pigs Reef, east of the Harbour Bridge, fishing the deep water, catching them on crabs. That's where the big fish are hanging out, and he's certainly picked up where he left off 2 years ago. So we're going to get him up very soon. In second place, we have Ahmed Mahfood. He is holding down second, 5 fish for 3.23 kilos. And Blake O'Grady is sitting in third with 5 fish for 3.07. And Tommy Slater, Daiwa's very own Tommy Slater, he's charging hard after a quiet start. He's sitting in fourth place at 5 fish for 3.09. And Kris Hickson is currently in fifth with 2.988 kilos. Kris has won this event in the past, and he's always a one to look out for any time that we come to Sydney for the Open. I think we're getting pretty close. Jamie's observer is dialing in, and we'll have them up live very soon. Of course, we are streaming via Daiwa Australia's YouTube page, also ABT Tournament's Facebook page. So plenty of people and at home and at work watching the live feed. We are doing the live feed from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. each day, 3 days of the tournament, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Day 1 and Day 2, anglers will be fishing Sydney Harbour. Day 1 and Day 3, they are fishing Sydney Harbour. Day 2, the day in the middle, they are off to the Hawkesbury. So they get to mix it up. They get to go hard on their Sydney Harbour fish on Day 1 and give them a bit of a rest, and then go back on Day 3 and spank them hard once again. Now, last time Jamie was here, he took home the trophy, and he had a 15 out of 15 limit for 13.47 kilos, which gave him an average of 4.49 kilos each day. He is on track to do that again. Today he has 5 for 4.512 kilos. As I said a couple of times, Jamie is fresh from a win last weekend, fishing crabs down deep, catching good quality fish in the deep water at Lake Mckeown. Smallest fish he has in his limit so far is an 810 gram fish. I wonder if he can break 5 kilos. It'll be interesting to see whether he can. All right, I'm just scrolling down to have a look at the scoreboard here. 24 anglers we have fishing. How many of those have their limits? Let's see. It's a solid looking squad. So we have limits all the way down. So we have 21 limits at the moment. We have anglers fishing this event from right throughout Australia. We have Steve Duff from Victoria, Bernie Kong, who used to be in Sydney. He's now living up my part of the world in Brisbane. So we've got anglers from up and down the eastern seaboard. And we have Mark Crompton live on the board. We're going to get him up on the screen. He'll be with us very soon. We chatted to Mark at the takeoff this morning. It was an interesting chat to Cromo. He said a lot, but he didn't say much at all. He was pretty tight-lipped, pretty cagey. Hello? we can hear him. We're just trying to get the vision sorted. The joys of doing things live. Yeah. Let's get him up on the screen.
It'll work.
There he is, Mark Crompton. How are you, mate?
Hang on, mate.
Have you got me?
Just trying to get the audio.
Oh, it sounds
I
like
can hear you loud and clear. How's your morning?
Anyway, how you going?
I'm really good. How are you? It sounds a bit windy out there too.
Oh, I've got a battery in it. Sorry, because it's running low.
All right, let's have a look, see what Cromo's got so far. He's sitting in 11th place. He has 5 fish for 2.213 kilos. The biggest fish in the limit so far is 570 grams. Oh, sorry, 600 gram fish there. Mark has won this event in the past. 2018, he won that event. Mark is one of our Daiwa BREAM pros in the event. Very passionate tournament angler. We didn't see much of Mark on the tournament trail last year. We didn't see too many events on the tournament trail last year. Of course, COVID kiboshed a lot of the rounds. And Mark and his lovely wife Danny became first-time parents last year too. So, all right, I think we might be ready to have another chat to him.
Right, yeah.
That's a good fish, mate.
Looks good.
Perfect timing to cross.
Heaps of them up there.
That's a kegger. That's a kegger.
Yeah.
That's just giving me what we wanted.
So his biggest fish at the moment is 670.
Can they hear it at all?
Must be in delay. A couple more up there too.
See if they can. You got that there?
Well done, mate. Awesome fish.
Woo!
He'll hang back a little bit. I think his observer said that
It's in delay.
Fish up there. So he's going to hold the boat in position. He's got it on the ruler now. Of course, we are using the app for the tournament, so they'll need to measure and photograph that fish and lodge it into the app.
31.
They take 2 photos, one of the fish
310?
on the ruler, and then
Or
they're going to call it.
Yeah, I'd say so.
305.
No, it's 31.
Fishing boat holes in amongst the tubs.
What's the time say on your phone? 11:20. Oh, you're right.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. It's it, 30, what is it? 31?
31.
All right, we just dropped 2 30-odd forker fish in the boat. Hopefully you guys see that shortly. That thing's not too bad though. Yoink.
I'll try it. Are they watching? Are they watching though?
Looks like we might have frozen there.
Oh, you're not connected.
So a great run of action there by Cromo. Solid effort. Let's have a look to see where he's moved. He's in 9th place now. 5 fish for 2.54 kilos. 670 grams is the standout fish in his bag so far. Good job, Cromo. Former winner of this event, of course. As I mentioned, 2018, he won that tournament. He was very emotional on that day. It was an event he'd tried to win for quite some time, and he was over the moon that he finally grabbed the Australian Open title. And the year after that, Jamie Mckeown was our champion, and as we've mentioned a few times this morning, he is on track so far to defend his title. He's leading the field with 5 fish for 4.512 kilos. All right, I think we're the man that we're just speaking about, Jamie Mckeown. We're going to get him on the line very soon. We're going to see what he's doing and where he's doing it. Although there's no real secret, he's east of the bridge fishing the sow and pigs reef down there between Middle and South Head, I believe it is. A deep water spot, loaded with plenty of quality fish. Now the reef itself is about 150 metres long and it's about 70 metres wide, so a solid patch to fish. All right, and we have Jamie live on the screen now.
How you going, Simon? I can't hear you great because it's a little bit blowy out here, but I can just vaguely hear you.
All right, mate. So how's your day playing out? From what we've seen on the scoreboard, you have picked up where you left off 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's I couldn't really ask for a better start. I had 5 fish in 5 casts, and it's just been a matter of being patient now. I'm picking them off as they come through. I had some issues with a seal and some kingies that were sitting at the back of the boat wanting to steal anything that went past their face.
So when you say seal, you don't mean a seal on your water pump or anything. This is actually a living seal that eats fish.
Yeah, there's a resident seal here. It was here in 2019 too that caused some issues for me. So I just got to try and get to the opposite side of the reef where he's hanging out. So that's the only way to try and get past it, I think.
It's a bit of a different dynamic than dealing with rowers and jet skis, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, completely different. We've got plenty of weight coming through, and as I said, we've got the wind picking up a bit now, and there's a little bit of swell, not much. All
right, looks like we might have a bit of a... He's back. You got me, Jamie?
You there? I've got you. Yeah.
Now, when you saw the tides for this year, were they spot on? Were they exactly what you wanted for your fish to line up? And
mate, they were the tide and moon phase are pretty much the same as what it has been, what it was in 2019. So, getting a lot of little baby snapper as well as a bycatch. So, but now it's just a matter of moving around with the school, using the Lowrance gear, the active target to locate them again, and when they move off, because once you start to pin a few, they obviously sort of spread out a little bit.
So you're spotting the fish on the screen and following them around rather than looking at the structure and assuming that there's going to be fish there.
Yeah. So completely different to 2019 for me. It was sort of casting blind, but this year I can sort of see where I've sort of find them. I turn everything off, and then once the bite sort of slows off a bit, I turn it back on and then move around with the electric and try and locate them again.
Now the reality is you have enough fish in your well at the moment to set yourself up to win this tournament. Do you stay there all day, or do you go off and give your fish a bit of a rest?
Mate, going off 2019, I didn't need to rest it because we've got the break in between. Tomorrow, obviously, we're at Hawkesbury, so So no, I'll stay here all day and just manoeuvre around. Like there's one complete side of the reef that I haven't fished yet. So I'm sort of saving that for a little bit later when the tide drops right off the reef. There's a deeper side. So when the tide drops right out, I'll head over to there and see if I can't get a few over there. So we'll just sort of play it by ear and move around. I'm not fishing real hard now. I've sort of 4 kilo was sort of the target this morning. So I think going off what's on the board at the moment, I'm a bit over that. So I'm just sort of plucking them here and there and not sort of really stinging where I'm finding them at the moment. So I'm just working through it.
Right,
I'm not trying to be rude either. With my back and woods here, mate, I just can't hear.
You've got 4.52 and then Ahmed sitting in second with 3.23. So you've got well over a kilo over your closest rival.
Three days though, mate. It's anything can happen.
How much of a lead would you feel comfortable with heading into day two? Because you never know what's going to greet you with a Hawkesbury.
Yeah, that's right, mate. Nothing really. No, there's no lead probably big enough for the 3 days until the last weigh-in on the last day. Anything can happen in this. It's. I don't think I led the comp at all last year until it was right at the end. So, or 2019. Sorry. So anything can happen. Like those bags, like my last in 2019, just destroyed those big, massive fish that get around in the Hawkesbury. I think he weighed 5.5 kilo or something like that, and had a couple that were, 1.5 kilo. And we saw in the Berkeley Super Series that it's obviously fishing pretty good with big fish. So, anyone can snap the lead tomorrow. It's just you just got to stay connected and stay on the fish tomorrow, and then day three's where it's won.
Yeah, one of the reasons that we love coming to Sydney for the Open is, two solid fisheries. And like you say, a 5 and even a 6 kilo bag is not out of the question. We have had a 6 kilo plus bag in the Open previously. Granted, it was back in the team days, but, anybody can run you down potentially.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it. So yeah, no, I'm not comfortable at all. I'm really happy with the start I've had. But yeah, no, you wouldn't be comfortable. It's anything can happen, like it's, the second guy at the moment's only, just over a kilo behind. That's only one really good fish. So, and it's very doable here end of the Hawkesbury. So it's not over.
Now, are you losing many lures where you're fishing?
Not losing a great deal. I've lost, I think, one crab, and I've also just another little snapper, and I've lost, I think, 2 bream. So one crab to rocks and 2 crabs to bream.
And I guess you're fishing light compared to what you fished last weekend at Lake Mac.
No, not really. I've still got 8 pound on, so I find with the crabs, mate, that unless you're fishing boat holes or something like that, that they're not really line shy, especially in fast flowing water. They're I don't really have an issue with ever using sort of between 6 and 8 pound. And I mean, at Lake Mckeown, I went to 10 pound on the last day, and it didn't seem to affect the bite at all.
Well, fantastic effort, mate. What a great way to start your title defence, as you said. You got your limit in your first 5 casts.
Yeah, mate. It was just, it would, and literally got the 5th fish in, and then didn't get another bite for probably half an hour or so. So it was just one of them things, It was chucked in and straight on, and then chucked in again and straight on, and it was all happening to start off with. And once you get your 5, you sort of start to think about, stop smacking them in the same spot and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I moved a little bit, not far, but just sort of moved around a little bit, and they seem to be sort of sitting on one particular corner of the reef at the moment. And so sort of give it a spell a bit and move back to them if after half an hour or so, and generally can pick up one or two and then got to move off again.
Are there any other boats in the area?
Your boss was here. I think Tommy's your boss, isn't he? He was here for a while.
Yes.
And I didn't see him catch a lot. And then he was pretty much behind me, just on the other side of the reef. And as I said, they just sort of sit in the same sort of area. He stayed for a while and then took off. There's been no other Betos or charter boats or anything like that hanging around. It's just me, the kingfish, the seals, and the bream, mate.
Well, you mentioned Tommy. Every time I do a refresh on the scoreboard, he is moving further and further up, and he's sitting in third place at the moment with 3.019 kilos. So he's coming hard for you.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it's he's not too far away. I did see where he went, but so it's mate. As I said, I may not be leading by the end of this comp. It's by the end of this day. It's just one of them things. Last year, I think I sat in third for day one and day two, and just got that really good bag on the last day. So I mean, anyone can do it from within the top 10. It's just such a fishery where you can really bang big fish quickly. It's anything can happen, within an hour sort of thing. So yeah, I've had a good start, but it's far from over.
Yeah, it's an event that can be a real nail biter, and it comes down to the wire, and it has many times. We've seen the event split by 10 grams. So it's exciting for you guys and anglers, and as a commentator, it's also making for a great spectacle. So it's a good event, mate. Great way to start your titled events. We might let you get back to it. Good to see you on the flag for the Queenslanders.
Thanks, mate.
All right, mate. Talk soon. Take care. There we are, Jamie,
see you, mate. Bye.
our leader. 5 fish for 4.512 kilos. As he said, had his limit in the first 5 casts, and well, we all love starting our tournaments that way. So great job by Jamie. We talked about Tommy Slater before, and he has been working his way through the leaderboard. He's sitting in third place at the moment with 5.3019 kilos. In second place, we have Ahmed with 3.23 kilos. Kris Hickson's on the march as well too. He's sitting in fourth place as well, and Liam Carruthers is in fifth. Liam's been in some good form of late. He won a Hawkesbury Bets event a couple of weeks ago, and Liam, of course, is a former BREAM Grand Final champion. Won that on the Clarence quite a few years ago. So there's some talent in that top 5. We might be ready for a bit of a break, I think. So that's it, guys. We'll be back again soon.
Yeah, and it's got a nice short handle. Awesome.
G'day, Steve Morgan here, Australian Bass Tournaments. It's a pretty special day for me because I'm in Sydney, a place I love to fish for bream, and I've got a hold of the new Daiwa in-feet series of rods. We've commandeered Tom Slater's boat today. He designed these things, and we get a few hours to come and fish my favourite place in the world, Middle Harbour, for bream. Because I've got Tommy's boat, I get to raid his tackle box, and I found this dirty old imitation stick minnow here. It's a great technique in winter. Let's put this top of the line $500 in-feet to the test. So that is a couple of casts into the new Daiwa in-feet. This is the EX model, the top of the line. It's a pretty nice rod, but Sydney, welcome back, it says. Check out that lovely bream on a little sinking stick bait. That soft action just keeps those little hooks in, and these aren't flash hooks, they're pretty ordinary, those hooks. Keeps it in, keeps the fish on, love it. Now we've caught a couple of fish early on the stick minnows. We've got the crankbait out, a little deep diving crankbait there, and this one here is the 7'4". This is the middle one, the Z range. very slow action, perfect for crankbaits, and that is a perfect place to throw one. There's a real difference between between casting a fast action rod and a slow action rod for bream. These light lures, you really let the rod do the work with these slow actions. You need to really just let it load up, let it catapult it out there, whereas people are used to, with a fast action rod, really having to get that rod tip speed up. You don't need to do it on these ones. I don't know if it's just Sydney or if it's the in-feet, but check that out. One of the things about Sydney is Sydney people are often killjoys. Look at this, they've scraped all of the oysters off this bridge. The lure manufacturers really, really hate it, but it does make it easy to get a cast along here. Cool bait. There it is. And even though the oysters are gone, the bream aren't. And there's that crankbait rod again, that nice soft action. That's typical of this whole in-feet range. They got the actions just right for the techniques. This is quite a dark local fish. I reckon this one must live on the bridge the whole time. Got that bronzy sheen to him. And smash that little crankbait. But this is the mid-level in-feet here. $350 price point. It's got the silicon carbide stainless steel frame guides down below, but when you get to the top and you can see these different binding colours here, they're the titanium frame ones, and that just helps you with your casting. On the slow rods, any less weight that you can have in the top half of the rod is going to help that casting action, and feels great in the hand, and this thing throws a crankbait really nicely. So sun's come up a little bit now and we're on to our third technique of the day. We're going to fish some of the new Daiwa, the bait junkie plastics, floating, stretchy material on one of the EX series in-feeds here. I've chosen a shorter model now. It's the 7 foot and it's a fast action, so a lot more suitable to popping these things up off the bottom. This one's rigged on a 1/6 of an ounce head, and I've sort of rigged it a little bit weedless to throw up amongst the rocks here, and let's see how the stiffer versions of these in-feeds go.
Back to the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. It's been a good start to the day so far. Rapid fire of catches coming through via our app. Jamie Mckeown has charged to a comprehensive lead. Of course, Jamie's our defending champion. He has 5 fish for 4.512 kilos. We've chatted to a few anglers live so far, and we have Tommy Slater in the queue. He is our next angler that we are going to get up onto the screen and chat to. Tommy, you've been in charge of late, mate. You're sitting in 3rd place at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's been a good little last 45 minutes or so. We're at the Spit Bridge, pretty obvious spot. And there seems to be a few fish on it. So I've caught I think 3 or 4 of them now. There's a couple of nice fish that you've seen in the last probably hour or so. So it's a little bit of a quiet morning, but starting to get a couple now. So
it's not the quietest place in the world to fish, is it?
No, very noisy, and it opens up every hour. So the bridge opens up, and you have to make way for the sailboats to come through. Yeah, not the most peaceful place for a fish, but seems to be fairly productive. So we'll stay here for a little bit longer. We'll fish around, and then we're going to head back up the Parramatta River, I think, and try and catch a few more.
Now, when we were driving back to the office here this morning, we had a look for you at the Spit Bridge, but we couldn't see you. What time did you get there?
Probably it's 11:30 now, maybe around 10 o'clock. So I actually started out on some washers or some rocky points towards the front of the system. So fished around there. It was a bit quiet, to be honest. There was quite a few boats around on a couple of the washes that I wanted to fish. I popped over to Sow and Pig Reef with Jamie, and I got one there and dropped a couple of others, and then headed over towards Manly, and I caught another one in Manly there, and then bounced to this Fit Bridge. So filled out the limit here and managed one nice upgrade. So
you have been running and gunning this morning, haven't you?
Yeah, fair bit of running around, and we'll run back into the Parramatta River probably around 12:30 or so, maybe give this another hour, depending on if there's a few fish around. There's actually a school of fish here, which is moving around from pylon to pylon. So when you can find them, you generally get a bite. So
now,
stay here.
Now, through the baits and the techniques.
Pretty staple deep bridge technique. So I've got a cranker crab tied on to this rod, and I've got extra weight on it. So I've got a 5 gram weight clipped onto it to get it down in the fast current. This is a pretty heavy outfit, so I've got 8-pound braid on this one and 10-pound leader, and this is one of the in-feet. So this is the cranker crab rod, as it's known. So 7'8", so it gives you, even though I've got the drag locked pretty much, it still has enough length to have a nice parabolic curve and pushing the head shakes of the fish and the runs. Because the obvious risk with fishing locked drags is pulling hooks, especially with the crabs because they've got such small hooks. I do like that longer rod. It definitely helps, I think, land a few more fish when you're going really hard on.
Now, the in-feet range, it was very purpose-built, and the rods were selected as a horses for courses approach. It's the ideal choice for anglers who are getting into bream fishing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I was just saying this morning, I spent about 2 years making this range for Daiwa. And there's every conceivable rod that you would need to catch bream and fish a bream tournament. We've got it in the in-feet rods, and we've got it in multiple price points as well. So you don't have to spend a fortune. This one here is one of the mid-level rods, so you can pick that up for around $350. But you've got rods from $190 all the way up to $500 as well in the EX series. So, I mean, I truly believe they're the best range of purpose-built bream rods on the market. I've got 13 of them floating around the boat at the moment, and hopefully we'll get to use a few more this afternoon when we go up the river.
Nice. Have you lost any fish today?
No bust-offs yet. Actually, the reason I'm here is because I pre-fished the bridge yesterday morning pretty early and got absolutely annihilated by a big one. So that was enough kind of proof that I needed that the fish were on the bridge. And I was always planning to come here at some stage, whether I started the day here or came a little bit later, as it was this morning. So.
Now, have you got your game plan sorted for Hawkesbury?
No, not really.
You'll work that out tonight over dinner?
Yeah, I'll work that out tonight. I've got some ways that I really like to fish in the Hawkesbury. I honestly don't know if they'll work at the moment with the conditions and everything, but I didn't pre-fish the Hawkesbury. I chose to pre-fish the harbour, seeing there was 2 days on the harbour and only 1 day on the Hawkesbury. So I made the call to pre-fish the harbour, and I think I'll just wing the Hawkesbury and hope it works out.
Well, you spent plenty of time on the Hawkesbury over the years. I remember you doing very well there in a Super Series probably 10 plus years ago. So you've had some good form on the waterway in the past, and I'm sure you'll find some tomorrow. Yeah, that was actually probably one of the first boating tournaments I actually ever did. I borrowed Alex Roy's boat, who I won the team's grand final, and drove down and fished the Hawkesbury, and I think I came second to Warren Carter by not much. I think it might have actually been 10 grams or 20 grams or something. And I think it was the year that the washers really fired for us.
Yeah, so I was fishing Flint and Steel, it's called. So it's the first wash on the left outside of Pittwater. And so I'll probably pull up on there tomorrow just for some nostalgia. Hopefully there's that 42 forker I caught last year still there somewhere.
The tournament has certainly evolved since that event 10 plus years ago, as I mentioned. They've come a long way, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's exciting to see what we're doing here this weekend, or this week, I should say. Back when there was no highlights, there was no video, there was no winners interviews back then. It was a write-up in a magazine and a report on the ABT or the bream.com.au website. So to have a live show streaming on, across multiple platforms with, hundreds of people watching, it's quite impressive, and I think everyone should be really proud of what we've put together for this week. I hope it's entertaining viewing for everyone.
I agree, mate. I'm incredibly proud to be a part of what we're doing, and I think it'll be a start of a lot more of this in the future.
Yeah, hopefully, and hopefully we can just keep learning and expanding and keep improving on it. And as we get more people confident in it, we can get more anglers dialing in. Cover more of the field. I think that's one of the best things about it is we could potentially cover almost everyone in something like an open field and have everyone if they have the day of their dreams, give them the opportunity to put it all out for everyone to see and live stream it. I think that's really cool.
That's exactly right, Tom, and it's about getting as many people into fishing as we can and them experiencing the love and joy of it that we know and enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. I think the more people fishing at the end of the day, whether it's tournament fishing or recreational fishing, it's better for our industry, better for the sport. And certainly if there's anyone out there watching that wants to get into the tournaments, I've been fishing for over 10 years probably now. And yeah, it's one of the best things I've ever done is get into tournament fishing. So it's created a career for me in a certain way. And I just really enjoy it, really thankful for it.
Well said, mate. Well, we might leave you to it. Thank you very much for spending some time with us, and great job on spearheading Daiwa, being a part of this event. We certainly appreciate it, and all the best for the rest of the day.
No worries. Thanks, Armin.
There we are, folks. Tommy Slater sitting in third place, 5 fish for 3.019 kilos at the Spit Bridge at the moment. And he, as he mentioned, he's going to move around a fair bit more this afternoon. They will finish up at 2 o'clock this afternoon. We have some more anglers in the queue that we're going to chat to soon. I believe Kris Hickson is the next angler that we will have on the screen. And I think we might also have a bit of a look at the interview that we did with him this morning. I think we are almost ready for that to go. Interview. Kris, nice of you to join us this morning. We thought you'd slept in.
No sleeping in. I had to go get coffee and bake an egg roll.
That sounds like a Hixson morning. How you feeling about it, mate?
Pretty good, eh? Yeah, it's well, it can't be much worse than the last two events I just had, so it's got to come good sooner or later.
So what do you do? Like you are one of the most consistent anglers on the tour, but that consistency sort of hasn't been with you the last event. How do you turn it around?
Just go fishing. Just do what I do and hope that they're there. Pretty much. It's one of those things you have ups and downs in it, in fishing especially. It's just a matter of going out there and being confident and catching the fish you need to.
Now I'm looking at the deck of your boat, and it does not look like your boat. You usually have like 32 rods rigged. I see two. What's going on?
They're in the locker still. And you just got here. They were the two I rigged last night because they had to change a couple of things. So no, I'll have a fair quiver on the deck. Just Sydney Harbour is such a vast place and so many options. I like to have one of everything tied on, so they'll be there.
So what are the money baits you're going to have tied on over the 3 days? Of course, two different venues, the Harbour and Hawkesbury, slightly different fisheries. What are you going to be throwing?
I think the staple from the practice day was just a grub, just a bait junky grub on a light jig head. That sort of caught fish wherever I went yesterday. Cranker crabs, of course, you're going to have some of them tied on, and definitely a few deep diving cranks, like a rolling crank or a spike for when that tide's up.
Now, I've been chatting to the guys this morning, and I've been getting them to give me a tip who they think will do well. Your name has featured twice. You can't tip yourself, so who are you tipping?
If that big sea push some fish in down the bottom, I reckon Jamie will go back to back, to be honest. If those fish are on that deeper structure, he's the one to catch them. So if it doesn't tune up the harbour and upriver in the Hawkesbury, we're going to do it tough.
He's on a good run of form at the moment. Only a fool would bet against him. Good luck, mate.
Cheers, mate.
And we are back in studio. We just saw a chat that we had with Kris Hickson this morning. Kris, well, he has done everything there is to do in tournament fishing in Australia. Former Australian Open champion, former Grand Final champion, Super Series champion, Megabucks champion. He has done it all. And we're going to have him live very soon. Kris has had a good start to his Australian Open, his Daiwa BREAM Australian Open for 2021. Sitting in third place with 5 fish for 2.988 kilos. Kris, we have you live. How are you?
How do I turn the volume up? Is that it? Can you talk to me again real quick?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Hang on, keep on.
How about now?
Try again. Yeah, that's a bit better.
Kris Hickson, we are live with the bearded Brimmer. How are you, mate?
Hi. Good. Good. Oh, kind of good. Just at the start of Hen and Chicken Bay on some boats. Thought I'd poke in, and I've been fishing pretty clear water all morning, so I thought I'd just come up and find some dirty stuff and see what happens. So just junk fishing a bit at the moment. I can't catch stacks of fish. Like, it's stupid how many fish are here. I just can't get a decent one. It's really frustrating, to be honest.
So give us a rundown of your first half of the day. What have you been doing?
So first up, I went into Lane Cove to check some boats out that I fished yesterday that had some pretty good fish showing on them. I didn't really try and catch them. I just went looking, and because there was a couple of boats there that had some really substantial fish on them, I thought I can't not go straight there just to see. And I burnt the first hour in there on the boats and the bank for pretty much nothing. Oh, actually, I got one 30-centimetre forker off a dock in there, but it was a bit of a waste, and the tide caught me out as well. So I put in up at Wharf Road yesterday and went upstream in the mangroves, and the tide dropped out super quick, super early. And I thought it might have done that even more so downstream where I was going, but it didn't. It held for ages this morning. So I ended up bailing out of there, ran to Goat Island and just had a flick around some rocks and belted them, to be honest. The first fish I hooked in there was a cracker too, and I ended up pulling the hooks out of that. I think that was because Brett's on the boat. But then I got, a stack of fish, a couple of 30 forkers, and been catching fish pretty much all morning, but just can't get anything of a decent size. Seen a few, but just, I can't get them to eat. So that's why I'm up here in the dirty water trying to make something happen.
So what are you going to do? Are you just going to keep plying through all those fish and hope for a bigger bite, or do you go?
Yeah, well, normally I'd run east and maybe look for a bigger one for something different. But I got a couple of okay fish up the river here yesterday when I was mucking it, only sort of half trying. So I thought I may as well just come up and do that, save the time of running all the way east and save some of that stuff for the next day. Plus, I saw quite a lot of boats go down there this morning as well. It's just pretty much junk fish. I've got a bit of a milk run that I do up here every now and again, but I'm not too concerned about that. I just want to go, and it's just a matter of fishing a lot of stuff now and hoping I get a big bite.
Yeah, now it's a hard ask to, we have seen over the years that the bags have got bigger and they've got heavier, and that, you need to bring 4.5 kilos to the scales every day to really be in contention. It's hard to get those big bags when you're junk fishing. So have you thought about changing your approach, or you just do what you love?
To be honest, man, I just do what I'm comfortable doing. If it comes down to it and there's absolutely no other option, sometimes I'll go and grind deep with crab like some of the other guys like to do. But to be honest, I think
Good morning, Daiwa fans, and welcome to the 2021 Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. We are here on the shores of Sydney Harbour. It is day one of one of the biggest tournaments on the ABT BREAM calendar. Now, the Open has a rich history, starting in 2004 as a teams event and then evolving into a boater-only multi-venue event. We have 24 anglers fishing this weekend. Let's have a chat to some of the guys and see how they feel about the fishing on offer on Sydney Harbour and the Hawkesbury River. The first angler that we have with us this morning is Daiwa's very own Tommy Slater. Tom, how you feeling, mate?
Yeah, good. Happy to be at the Open again. So we missed it last year, obviously, but yeah, really keen to get on the water. Hopefully the fishing's all right. We'll see if we can find a few.
Now, it's a it's a 3-day tournament with 2 venues, Sydney Harbour on day 1 and day 3, and Hawkesbury on day 2. The question is always, which venue do you pre-fish?
I pre-fish the harbour, figuring you spend 2 days here and 1 day in the Hawkesbury. I don't, to be honest, I don't actually fish either venue that much, even though I live here. I don't have like a milk run of spots like some of the other guys do. I have the ways that I like to catch them, and if hopefully that works today, and if it doesn't, I'll just do a bit of junk fishing and hopefully put a bag together.
Now, Daiwa is very strong these days when it comes to bream gear, and that's very much because of you. You want to give us a bit of an insight in some of the tackle and especially lures, because lures are very hot for us at the moment, some of the baits you're going to be throwing over the 3 days.
Yeah, for sure. So I think I've got 13 of the new in-feet rods rigged up on the deck. So I've got all sorts of stuff.
And we are back live. We've had a few technical issues this morning, mainly due to audio, but we seem to have it sorted now. Before we had that unwanted interruption, we were chatting to Kris Hickson, so we are dialing him up again, and we're going to chat to him again very soon, hopefully. As we saw, he was upriver cranking boat hulls, sitting in 3rd place with 2.988 kilos, so just shy of 3 kilos for Kris. Tom Slater sitting in 2nd with 3.019, and Jamie Mckeown is leading the charge with 4.512 kilos. 24 anglers fishing this event, $12,000 in cash we are giving away. The champion angler will take home $5,000, and we also have 4 prizes for the 4 biggest fish for the tournament. Boater only event, 3 days. Day 1, day 3, they fish Sydney Harbour. And day 2, they are off to the mighty Hawkesbury. Tomorrow morning is the time and the place that they will head to the Hawkesbury 7 o'clock kickoff. Once again, we will do our live coverage tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Each day of the events, we will be coming to you with live footage from the studio and also from the boats with the anglers. We have Kris Hickson live with us again. Kris, have you got me?
I got you, man. Yeah, we're good.
What you doing, mate? Changing a bait?
No, I broke one off a while back. As well, I was trying to catch most of my fish on, but I didn't retie it, so I thought I might as well go digging. And you'd think of like to be organised and remember where he put stuff, but I'm not.
So what is it you're looking for?
Grub, so the like a green pumpkin, red fleck sort of colour. I'm blind. This is where I looked the first time. So that's
rigged on a jig head. What size?
I'm going to put it on a on about a 20th at the moment. The wind's come up a little bit, so I'll go a touch heavier than I have been. The fish are really high on the boats, but pretty hard to catch those ones. So been trying to just sink it a little bit deeper to find a bigger fish, but. It's not working.
So what's the key piece of structure on those boats that you think the fish are holding on and you're trying to hit right on the nose with that lure?
Well, they're all along, they're up feeding all along quite a lot of the boats. And it's early on, it didn't really matter. They just swim down and eat it. But once that bite window this morning, when the moon was in the right spot, sort of waned out, they've been pretty touchy since. So I've been just trying to parallel it as much as I can, mainly due to the wind, because if I try and go side on, it just drags my bait away. And then, let it sink down and watch for the tick in the line. I was just trying to coax them onto it a bit with a minnow then, just to see if I could fire them up, but it's just small fish, just small fished at the moment. So anyway, we're going to pick another boat and try and catch one off it.
Now, we've run plenty of Australian Opens over the years, and we've seen a real evolution in the gun techniques. You know, in the early days, it was soft plastics to fix structure, and then Greg and Pat used to get them on the boat holes up the Parramatta and the Lane Cove. Cranker crabs have really emerged over the years. You and Morgo throwing crankbaits on shallow edges. It's been quite a diverse event, hasn't it?
And that's Sydney Harbour to a T. It's got a bit of everything. Aside from a stack of oyster racks and maybe some proper weedy flats, there's just about everything in this place. You've got hard rock structure, beaches, docks, boats, washes. You've got literally a bit of everything, which is, I think, why it makes this event so good, because anyone from any part of the country can come here and find something that suits them. And as I said when I pulled up, like, everyone's got their favourite spots in Sydney Harbour. I've got a few of mine as well, but I'm just as comfortable fishing this run of boats as one down the back, because you just don't know where those big fish are going to turn up. And if you're not local, you've got just as much as catching them anywhere else than those guys do. Like, the locals will have their boat or their wharf or their rocks that they know they'll catch a big fish off. But if they catch it too often, those things disappear and move. So it's just a matter of, for me, it's just working through it and finding something that suits you on the day. And if that's what's going to catch them for that tournament, and it's your time, then you'll do well. If it's not, then that's what happens.
Now, you know, as I've mentioned a few times, the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open took a bit of a break there for a few years, and when it came back, it was, you know, it was really popular, and the guys had really missed it on the calendar. And, you know, being boater only, it was very much the ultimate test. And I suppose for a lot of people, to win the Open is more prestigious than winning the grand final.
Especially these days, it's the only boater-only event we have. It's you versus just everyone else and mainly yourself, and it's 3 days, and it's on 2 venues. So we only get 1 day of practice in. You've either got to choose which venue you go to, or try and split yourself between them, and that's it. It's just one-on-one with the whole field. So especially now the grand finals is shared weight as well. I personally think this is definitely more of a challenge and a bit more prestigious than the GF is these days.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, the first time I ever met you was at the 2004 BREAM Grand Final that we had at Foster. That was the grand final that Timmy Morgan won. You were a young 16-year-old fishing on that last Sunday. You're not 16 anymore, mate. You're married. You've got kids. How do you maintain the appetite for tournaments over such a long career?
I like the challenge of it more than anything, and that's me in fishing in general. I'll fish anything that's a challenge, except if I'm going offshore to fill a box for the freezer. I just like a challenge in fishing, and there's not many bigger ones than tournament fishing because it's so diverse and ever-changing. Getting time to do it's the hardest, and I think personally, because I fish for so many different species and do so much different fishing, I rarely fish for bream these days. So one, that takes my edge off because I don't do enough of it, and two, I really enjoy it when I do go and do it, so I don't burn myself out and fish it too much. So
yeah,
I think it's just
helps keep you fresh, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I just tend not to do too much of it, and it shows sometimes, like the last couple of tournaments. But anyway.
Yeah, we've seen it a few times over the years that you get anglers and they get, you know, up to their boots in tournament fishing, and in a lot of ways they OD on it and they burn out, and we sort of lose them from the sport. So managing your involvement and your love for it and tempering it sometimes is a way to, you know, have a sustainable career in it.
Yeah, I find it that way, and that's, as I said, I truly don't do a great deal of bream fishing these days, and if I do, it's far from serious. But yeah, as I said, once I get to a tournament, it's back into the groove, or as close as I can get to it, and knuckle down and do what you can.
Now, you've been part of the Daiwa family for many, many years, well over a decade. Geez, we're putting out some quality products these days, aren't we?
And it's so good. It's just so good to be able to work with a really good bunch of guys and spend the time and get it all right. You can tell I've wiped them because I've got none left. And yeah, we're just getting the right things out there. We're spending the time to get it spot on as well. So, like, prime example of these grubs. When Tommy suggested we do some soft baits because they haven't really delved into it, my first reaction was, if we're going to do it, you're going to do it. Like, you're going to do it properly. We're going to spend the time and get it right. And we did. I don't even know how long. It must have been close to 18 months, 12 months we were working on these things before we even looked like getting it right. And it was a lot harder than I thought. So, and we're trying to put that into every single aspect of the company as well. And they've just got such a great group of staff members down there, super keen fishers, super enthusiastic and really good at what they do. So, and it looks like it's evolving into some pretty good products. So I know there's a whole bunch still to come that we haven't released yet, and I'm absolutely stinging to get some of those on my line as well.
When you left the briefing here yesterday, you had boxes of gear under your arm, all ready to put to work today.
Yeah, pretty much. There was a whole heap of stuff there. It was actually to replace what I'd stolen off the shelf at work because I already pretty much cleaned us out of what I needed.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and it's a bit like choosing which is your favourite child, and you've only got one, so that makes it an easy question. But what are your two favourite bait junkies, model and colour?
Oh, I've lost them. That's terrible timing, Simon.
Sorry, mate.
I got you. You there?
Yeah, mate, I got you. What are your two go-to bait junkie models and colours?
Oh, I really don't have favourites, hey. It's so hard for me to answer that question, but just going on form, it'd be either... Actually, to be honest, it's probably the motor oil or a mud blood grub would be the two favourites in the grubs. And for bass, I don't even have a favourite. Probably the mudblood and the minnow as well. It's a really good colour. Just a staple colour more than anything.
Nice. Great answer. And that is an answer. I don't always get an answer from anglers when I ask them a question, so well done. All right, so we might leave you to it. Kris, thanks very much for your time, mate. Get back to those bream, hey?
No worries, mate. Cheers.
All right, talk soon. There we are, Kris Hickson. Where is he on the scoreboard? He slipped down a little bit. He has been leapfrogged by Luke Rogan. So Kris is sitting in 5th place at the moment. We've had a bit of movement on the scoreboard. Jamie Mckeown is still leading. Ahmed, he is back into 2nd place with 3.738 kilos. Tom Slater in 3rd with 3.019. Luke Rogan in 4th, and Kris Hickson is holding down 5th. And Liam Carruthers is just out of the top 5, sitting in 6th with 2.985 kilos. All right, we have some more anglers who are about to join us live. Peter Phelps will be our next angler up. We chatted to Pete this morning at the takeoff. Made a bit of a joke that it was a bream event and he's a bass angler. And what was he doing here? But as I also mentioned, Pete has spent plenty of time catching bream over the years. He's a very good angler, and good anglers will catch any species on any location. So I'm expecting Pete to have some good news to share with us. I'm going to scroll down and find him on the scoreboard here. He's sitting in the 11th place, 5 fish for 2.523 kilos. I can hear him in my ear. Peter Phelps.
Hey Simon, how are we doing?
I'm good.
I'm very well, mate.
Tuesday.
Yeah, not too bad. I didn't realise what weight I had until you just sort of told me then. But yeah, like I had a pretty good morning, I suppose. Made a bag call this morning to head out and crankbait some washers this morning, and sort of wasted probably an hour and a half out there for not much at all. And now we're just upriver now, fishing some sort of main river bends and just trying to fish some currents. And we're catching a few, we're just not catching really big ones, which is sort of frustrating.
Now, I mentioned just before we crossed to you and also this morning that, you know, you're more known as a bass angler, but when it comes to bass fishing, and especially your bass fishing, you have quite a finesse skill set, which applies quite well to the bream fishing, doesn't it? Sorta.
When finesse comes into play at Glenbourne, I throw over my shoulder and aim at a weed bed. This is sort of pretty well unknown for me. You know, and for me to try and outcast like the likes of Hixson and Morgan and Tommy Slater and that, I'm not really on the same level. Oh, there we go. Just a little fella. Not really on their level, unfortunately. But I seem to be able to catch plenty this size, just on the bait junkie grub around these pontoons and that in the shadows. So yeah, I handle fishing a classic, no dramas at all. It's just I definitely know my casting ability will cost me, probably by the end of the weekend. But you know, every day I'm getting better and I'm learning, and yeah, it will just get easier over time, I suppose.
One thing that I've observed over the years that bass anglers who spend a bit of time bream fishing, it actually improves their bass fishing.
That's a piece of rope. Sorry, mate. I'm a little bit anxious. There's a lot of fish around these pontoons, so I'm expecting to bite like every one. Yeah,
and there's
for
a lot
sure.
of hardware that you've got to watch out for too, with ropes and poles and everything that can possibly grab your lure.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's why I'm pretty comfortable just sticking with the grub, because I feel I can get the cast. You know, I can skip a grub and I can put it into places I can't put other lures, like a crab. I know a crab works really well here, but I'm just not that accurate with it. So I'm sort of just trying to fish my strength and just trying to land this grub, hopefully on a big fish, and he'll eat it. You know, we've had a couple around 30 centimetres eat it. We just can't really sort of break that anything over, I suppose. But yeah, look, there's still plenty of time to go. I'll probably change what I'm doing now. Like I literally just come up here to fill a limit, and I did that in probably maybe 40 minutes, I suppose. And now I'm sort of just hopping around, and I seem to be catching about the same size fish. So it probably is time to make a call and maybe stick with the crab for an hour or two, just to see if I can get a decent upgrade. But with a little bit of inexperience on this place, it's something I'm always guessing, I suppose.
Now, we're off to the Hawkesbury tomorrow. You fish the Hawkesbury a lot, probably more so chasing bass and EPs than bream. Have you formulated a game plan for tomorrow?
I have, and that's purely based on my bass fishing experience there. Like this place here is a massive beast, the harbour. You've got so much to cast at. So I spent my day practice fishing here, and I'm sort of just going to wing the Hawkesbury. And I'm mainly just going to run with the basic rules, I suppose, in river fishing. I'll just sort of fish some steep rock walls and, you know, the little eddy currents and things like that, and just sort of hope for the best. I've used Google Earth a lot coming into this event, and that's pretty much how I've built my pre-fish, is just around using maps like that. But I'm sort of relying on what everyone else tells me as well. There's quite a popular spot there called the car park, that big flat in the end of Pittwater there. I've never fished it, but everyone tells me to stop there, and it's an easy place to fill a limit. So I'll probably do that tomorrow, and then hopefully I can sort of just run upriver and look for upgrades on those steep rock walls, you know, with a crab or a crankbait, and maybe even if this weather holds up, it might even be a bit of a topwater bite, which I'm hoping for as well. But yeah, tomorrow is going to be completely winged, I suppose. I've got a little bit of a game plan for today, but it's pretty well exhausted now because we've caught my limit, and I'm just sort of second guessing, I suppose, now how to catch the big one.
Now that sounds like a great game plan for day two, mate, and it's on point with what people have been doing there for many years, and there's been plenty of limits filled on the car park, I can tell you. Yeah, I have fished a couple of teams events there. We never fished it. I know it has the potential to win on the car park. There are some big bags that have been caught there before. The tournament that I fished in was a massive field, and the winning bag come from there. But from what I understand, it can be really hot and cold. You can be sort of on them, catch 5 kilos, or the next boat over can catch 1 or 2, or only a really small limit. So, I'm just going for a small limit. If I catch a big 1 or 2, I'll be happy tomorrow. And just sort of
probably just stick with running upriver. There's just another little fella there. I'm probably convinced myself to change now, I think, after all these little fish I'm catching. So yeah, we'll wait and see how tomorrow goes. I caught the tail end of his naming out the top 5 there, and it's no surprise some of the names up the top there, which is good to see, I suppose. There's potential's there for me to catch a big bag. I sort of know what most of the guys are doing. Just got to keep the head down for the next sort of 2 hours, I suppose.
Now, you've been on the road for a little while. You had Lake Macquarie last weekend at BREAM events. Oh, he's on.
So I might be an upgrade.
Yeah, he's reaching.
Maybe not. No, I think 27-ish is my smallest. And he's probably going to be just on, I think.
Now, your smallest fish so far is 410 grams.
I don't know what that means in length, but anyway, I'm going by length.
Unfortunately, I don't have the length curve in front of me at the moment.
So my record is it's about 27-ish fork length, which I don't think this guy's going to go. No, he's only a 26. So... you were saying, sorry, I've been on the road for a long time.
Yeah, Lake Mac last weekend, BREAM Australian Open, Sydney Harbour midweek. And then next weekend, you've got Hawkesbury Bass.
No, I'm not actually doing the bass around, unfortunately. With this year, with family and work and commitments like that, they're all over this jetty.
How good's this?
I made the choice to fish the bream over the bass this year. I've sort of been telling everyone that I've just sort of had enough of fishing Glenbourne and Lake Sinclair, and I much prefer to be out here doing something new like this.
Yeah.
So I get more excitement of catching new fish and new destinations. So it was always my plan to do the Open and Lake Macquarie. But it's funny because it is a big week. I've been telling everyone that pretty much since Monday last week, I feel like every day all I'm doing is getting ready to go fishing the next day. I've come off a run of night shifts, and he's a 26 forker. Run of night shifts.
Do you want to hold the fish a little closer to the camera so we can have a squeeze before you drop him in?
Yeah, so he's pretty much
Nice.
the stock standard. I've just been catching lots of this size, 26, 27. So it has been a long week. It's been, even though I sort of get off the water at like 2 o'clock-ish, 3 o'clock, you got to get in, rinse the boat down, get back, get ready for the next day, get all the food organised. It's been a long week. I'm kind of glad I'm not fishing Glenbourne. I know guys that are doing all three, and I think they'll be pretty exhausted by the end of it.
Yeah, it is pretty taxing being on the road for multiple events, isn't it? You go back to work to have a rest.
Yeah, I know I'll be well and truly exhausted after this week. I think it was 7 days on the water in a row. So, and it's big days down here at Sydney. Just the commute to get to and from as well. You're getting up early. It's all pretty taxing. But it's good fun. That's why we're out here. Tournaments it makes, for me, the reason I go to them, it just makes everything so much more special. Every capture's huge. It just feels so good compared to social fishing for me. That's just why I love it so much. The day that I go to sleep before a tournament and I'm not excited or anxious or wake up early and look at my phone because I think I've slept in, it's probably the day I should stop tournament fishing, and that's just why I love it so much. And that's probably why I had the conversion from bass to bream. The drive wasn't there so much anymore. And I'm loving it so far. It's been good. I'm looking forward to doing more over the years and, building my knowledge and skills and hopefully giving Hixson and Tommy Slater a run for their money.
I love the sound of that, mate. Pete, it's been great chatting to you, and I especially appreciate you giving us a bit of an insight into your thoughts this year and your fishing goals and the way you're going to attack it and your new approach to what's out there fishing wise.
Righto, mate. Thank you very much, Simon.
All right, thanks, Pete. There we are, Peter Phelps,
Righto,
having
mate,
a great day on Sydney Harbour. It's always great to chat to the anglers and get a bit of an insight into what they're thinking, what they do, why they do it, and their motivations to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go fishing and do it for 7 days straight. It's not an easy thing to do, so it's great to get that human side to what we do in tournament angling. So I think we might take a bit of a break, Nick. We got something queued up. All right, guys, time for a break. We'll be back soon with a bit more live.
All right. Now, film it.
I reckon this will go maybe about 38, 39 centimetre.
Yeah.
If I don't pull it from. He came out of no water too. He came out about 10 centimetres of water. Or probably, maybe 2 foot, sorry. 60 centimetres of water.
Yeah. Woo! Well done.
It's a donkey.
You.
That is a donkey.
Yeah. Woohoo.
I'll get a photo.
Showing a lot on the bottom, but yeah, great casting at tangles.
And we are back live from ABT HQ. It is day one of the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. We're at Sydney Harbour, 3-day Breamathon. Day 1, day 3 on Sydney Harbour, and tomorrow, day 2, we are on the Hawkesbury. We are getting towards the tail end of our live. We have chatted to plenty of anglers today, and we have another one waiting in the wings. We have Michael Collatoras out on the harbour. Just going to look down at the screen here. Michael is currently sitting in 10th place with 2.593 kilos. Michael, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
How's your Tuesday?
Oh, I can't complain. Look, the sun's out. I'm fishing. I'm not working. How good's that? So the fish aren't playing the game the best. I've been tailed up by two very, very nice fish. One was actually a school of bream so big, I actually called them for kingfish, and then one chased my lure down and grabbed it and just had him out, smoked me back in there, and he would have been probably pushing 1.3. So yeah, I've lost a few, and yeah, I've only just got bag fillers, so I'm just trying to look for that big bite just before the end now.
Now, when we chatted to you this morning, you said you'd probably be throwing crabs. Is that the way it played out?
Yeah, crabs are going good. Like I said, this is just a crab fishery, so I'll just maintain throwing these all day pretty much, and it's worked. We've got plenty of numbers. We probably caught close to 30, 35 fish maybe today. Yeah, I'm just really struggling for those big bites today. So we had 2, and I dropped both of them. So yeah, it's one of those
Now,
days.
what type of locations are you fishing? Are you fishing fixed vertical
Yeah, so
structure, or are you more?
as you can probably see, we're fishing a lot of docks and whatnot. Just pitching the lures in there, and yeah, the bream are going berserk. But the only thing is the size is very small. We're picking through a lot of 25s and 26 forks to try and get those those bigger fish. But the small ones are pushing the big ones out of the way today.
So when you electric up to a dock like the one you've got in front of you, what's the sweet spot? Where's the magic spot to put that cranker?
The the magic spot is the spot where you don't think you're going to land them. That's where, if you want to try and get a big fish, you've got to throw your lures in some nasty country. And like I said, those last two fish we hooked today, they were in country where I was saying in my head quietly, I don't think I'm going to land it, and sure enough, they got me. So yeah, so the darkest, deepest hole you can find. Just watch for the little tick in the line and hold on and wind like you're fishing the racks. So.
Now, what size line and lead are you throwing into those deep, dark spots?
Say that again, sorry.
What size line and leader are you using?
Okay, so I'm using about 8 to 10 pound leader, but I've gone down to 4 pound. I'm using 8 to 10 pound braid, but I've gone down to 4 pound leader because I'm just not getting any bites with the heavier stuff. So I've stuck to the lighter stuff. I'm getting the bites, but it's hard pulling them out, as you can see.
You don't get much forgiveness with 4 pound.
Yeah, 4 pounds. So you got to go light to get the bite, and yeah, so that's what we're doing at the moment.
And do you have that drag cranked all the way up?
Yeah, it's pretty tight, but it's just enough so that if they need to pull a bit of line, you won't pull the hooks on them. So there's just enough drag so that they can do a small run, but you've got to be really quick on the handle and start cranking them in, basically as soon as you turn their head.
So what do you got planned for the rest of the session?
What I plan to do for the rest of the session, I am going to be fishing some gnarly stuff like this and looking for a big 1.5 kegger, and hopefully they'll bump me up a bit. But yeah, so looking for that big upgrade just before the end.
Now, day 1 on Sydney Harbour, day 3 on Sydney Harbour, and the forecast weather-wise for day 3 is for rain and quite a bit. So it quite often is the thing that really turns fish on Sydney Harbour, isn't it? A bit of rain and a bit of flow into the system.
Yeah, 100%. So if a bit of rain comes in, because actually Sydney's had quite a fair bit of on and off rain in the last 3 weeks, but it's actually surprisingly clear. I'm a bit surprised at how clear the water is. So if we have a good dumping tomorrow, we might turn it on for day 3.
All right, so I'm not going to talk to you for a while. I'm just going to let you do your thing.
Yeah.
You fish away, and I'll just watch you over your shoulder if you don't mind.
Yeah, no worries.
Deepest, nastiest spot is where he wants to put that lure.
I just spooked one. One right at the collar.
There's so many ambush points there where the fish could be sitting. There are so many ways to lose a fish in that spot. So Michael's sitting in 11th place at the moment with 5 fish for 2.593 kilos. It is nearly 12:30, so they have, what, an hour and a half to go on the session.
saw one flash up on the dock.
That's the stuff. He's on the electric leading it out.
Oh, he's a nice fish. God, come on. Come on, baby. Come on. Oh. Trouble with the net. Trouble with the net. Oh yeah, he's a keg. This is one I need. He's a kilo. Come on, baby. Come on. Woo.
There it is.
That's how it's done.
Awesome stuff, mate. Well done.
He's probably about 1.1, 1.2. Oh.
Wow.
Just fell out. Oops, just fell out. let's put him on the ruler, eh? Just under 36 fork, 35.8. The ABT one. Locker.
Pop on the ABT ruler, the official ruler. He's a brave man leaving that unattended on the front deck. They could easily end up in the water.
They're worried about you leaving it on the front deck.
Alright, so nose touching. Nose touching, yep. Nose touching, and he is 36 fork we'll close his lips. Close his lips there, yep. 36 fork. Actually, that one didn't turn out too fresh out. Beautiful. Upload. 360. Submit. That's what you want with an hour and a half to go. There, buddy.
Awesome job, mate. Fantastic. Sydney skyline in the background.
All right.
That's an iconic Australian Open moment right there.
How good's that? We got it on film.
We did. We knew he was good in front of the camera. Your hand's still shaking, Michael?
Woo, she's shaking. All we need is one more of those and we can turn the day around big time.
That is the buzz of tournament angling.
Actually
Right,
saw that fish feeding. I actually saw the flash and pitched the lure in there, and then bang, he was on.
What percentage of the fish do you think you see actually eat the lure?
What percentage of fish do you see actually eat the lure?
Oh, today it's been a high percentage. Probably, honestly, 85% we've seen all the bream today eat our lures.
It's the ultimate buzz in bream fishing, isn't it? Seeing it eat your bait.
Anyone want to feed a leather jacket? That's a good meal right there.
Yeah, I think that'll fix up with a refresh.
Mate, I can't believe he didn't stitch us up. I cannot believe it.
Given the luck you've had today.
Yeah, given the luck I've had, yeah.
Will lightning strike twice? Let's hope so.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Good fish swimming down to my lure now. Oh, didn't take it. Another decent fish.
Oh, he's on again.
Is that me little rat? Only a little rat. It's a good sign.
So what are you changing to, Mick?
Just asking what are you changing to?
Oh no, just putting on another jig head. Lost that jig head, unfortunately. Lost about probably, how many jig heads do you reckon I've tied on today? Maybe about 15?
Yeah.
Quite hypnotic watching this. You don't want to look away because you're going to miss something. No, at any moment you could get bit. Okay. All right, so we might leave you there. Michael, thank you very much, mate, and great job catching that fish on camera. We really appreciate it, as did the viewers at home. So there we are, folks. Michael Collatoras. And we are getting close to the end of our day one live for the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. We have another angler in the wings, though, that we're going to join very soon, and that is Blake O'Grady.
There you go. Cool. Thanks, John. I'll get you to tip the phone the other way, though, John. Can you do that?
All right, he'll be with us very soon.
Hang on, one top. Can I get you to tip the phone sideways?
Sorting out our technical issues.
Yep. Give me a second.
Time is 12:42. An hour and a quarter to go for our 24 anglers. I can hear you loud and clear.
Just tilt it up so we can see Blake's head. John, that's it. Beautiful.
If I've got to turn it sideways, that's Blake in the frame altogether there.
Yeah, beautiful. Love it. Don't move.
Looks like Blake's on now by the looks of it.
What a time to cross. Load it up.
Little Taylor.
Unwanted bycatch.
Yeah, a bit of bycatch, Taylor.
Now I'm just going to get his score up on the screen here. Blake, you were sitting in 10th place, mate. 10 fish for 5.326 kilos. Give us a bit of a rundown of your day, how it's played out.
Yeah, Blake started off the day, his first couple of casts, he got 2 nice fish. And then he got a couple of small ones. He's been running around all over the place, and he's picked up 5 nice fish. He's trying to upgrade as we speak.
And what's he been
We've
throwing?
tried flats and boat holes, and he's been trying every tree in the book.
Any bust-ups, any missed opportunities?
He's had a couple of missed opportunities. Had one bust up. A bit disappointing. And a few bycatch, mainly flathead.
And what's the lure he's throwing at the moment?
He's throwing a chubby at the present moment, one that he painted himself on these new rods he's got, the duff rods. Nice rod, and he's going well with them.
Nice, nice. So whereabouts are you guys?
We're in Barnwell, near the Barnwell Golf Course.
Looks like another fish.
And we're flat fishing at the present moment. It's fairly shallow. We just got back here. We started earlier and we just come back.
So you're going to stay there for the rest of the session?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Will you stay there for the remainder of the session?
I'm not too sure yet. Are you going to stay here for the remainder of the session, Blake? Or? Yeah, it's not long to go. Unless you can think of somewhere better to go, this is where we'll stay. Blake's success has been mainly with a hard body that he's painted himself, and one of soft plastics and 2 on soft plastics.
Now, we heard it mentioned that Blake was fishing with duff rods. We actually have the man himself, Steve Duff, fishing this tournament as well. Steve lives
He's got a number of duff rods on the boat, and they're going rather well.
Steve's made the trip up from Victoria, and Steve's currently sitting in 22nd place.
Steve Duff's in 22nd place.
Okay. All right, boys. Well, we might leave you to it. All the best for the remainder of the session. Great job on a day one at the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. Fantastic effort. All right, we are getting close to the end of our live for day one here at the Open, but we still have a bit more time to go, and we have one more angler in the queue. And he's the angler that we chatted to first this morning, Steve Morgan. He, as he admitted this morning, he probably didn't start as well as what he would have liked, and he yinged when he should have yanged. But I'm sure he's scrambled and he's improved upon what he had in his well earlier today. So we're going to cross to Steve very soon. Now, before we do that, we might have another look at the scoreboard. Jamie Mckeown, he grabbed the lead nice and early this morning, and he's still there. 5 fish for 4.776 kilos. Ahmad is sitting in second place with 5 for 3.738 kilos. Daniel Bonacorso with a to be confirmed next to his name here in third place with 3.369 kilos. Luke Rogan sitting in fourth with 3.244, and Tommy Slater holding down fifth with 3.019. Tommy hasn't improved upon his bag weight since we chatted to him about an hour or so ago. Kris Hickson in 6th, Liam Carruthers 7th, Peter Phelps 8th, 9th, Mark Crompton, and the man that we chatted to just before, Blake O'Grady in 10th. And we are back live with Steve Morgan. How are you, Morgan?
Good, mate. And I said that I would improve my bag, and I have, but it hasn't been in great steps. I think nearly all of the fish that I had, apart from the big one this morning, I've upgraded, but it's only been a centimetre or two at a time. So it's been fairly disappointing. And when I talked to you, I was up near the Putney Ferry this morning. Well, I'm down at Vaucluse now at the other end of the harbour, and I've been following this sort of moored boat pattern all the way down, sort of running, looking for bigger fish, but haven't managed to find them yet. So it's, time's starting to run out. We've only got a bit over an hour left, probably an hour of fishing time left. And I'm now at a spot that I found big fish in a pre-fish probably 10 years ago. Just telling Peter Woods, my observer, the story, how I came down here and threw a stick minnow on 3 of these boats and caught 3 1 kilo class fish. And everyone I caught had 20 big yellowfin come up after it. And I just thought, there's my pre-fish done. I'm going to win this thing. And I came down here, spent half a day here and got a donut. I had to run around to try and catch my limit elsewhere. So, we're pulling out a bit of history now. It's a pretty good afternoon for boat fishing. The sun's out. There's plenty of shade under these boats. It's crystal clear water down here. I can see Jamie Mckeown out on the reef out there. He is like a tick on a dog's back there. He is planted there, and obviously I've seen the scoreboard now, so I know he's doing really well. So, like they say, we're not going to give up. I don't have to go in and get ready for a weigh-in today, so I'm going to enjoy actually fishing until the end, which is pretty cool, because another, 30-something centimetre fish, and I can be up where I need to be in the top half of the field.
Now, earlier when we chatted to you, you could see a lot of the fish just sitting under the hulls. Are they still high, or they've dropped a little bit?
When I went down to Double Bay, I could see them under there, fishing very shallow water, but they were a little bit skittish. They wouldn't come up and they would eat. So I've come into Vaucluse here and I'm fishing some deeper boats now. It's sort of a bit of a game of patience. I'm fishing a stick minnow in, 15, 20 knots of wind. Very difficult for it to get to the bottom. So I'm using 2 pounds straight through. I'm using the 7'5" in feet, the real light one. Tommy Slater calls it Morgo's stick minnow rod. And I'm laying that line on the water so it doesn't drag the lure away. So I'm dropping it in, laying that line down, and then I'm waiting up to 20 seconds for that lure to get down. And the way the stick minnows work is, if there's a school of bream down underneath, the most excited one will rush up and grab it and then try to run off so his mates don't get it. So and those 2 little trebles on there are so sharp, he'll get hooked on that. So look, there might be one on the lure right now, and when I take up the slack, that's when I find out if there's a fish there. So I'll wind in, no, then I just give the other ones a chance to get it, and rinse and repeat. That's how this technique works. And, trust how it goes down. That's the addictive sort of fishing that I should have done today and I didn't. I'm now throwing stick minnows on 2 pound. You tell me who's stupid.
Well, whenever you're reaching for a stick minnow and 2 pound, I know things are getting hard. Now, you mentioned something before that is very much the key when fishing. Windy conditions with a light lure, line management is so important to get stop your line getting onto a boat and getting your lure in just the right spot.
Well, yeah, and it's, you can miss a boat and miss the fish, but it is all about that lure falling vertically. Like, the last thing you want is a presentation where that lure is just getting dragged away from the strike zone under the boat. So I've had a lot of non-boaters in my time and tried to teach them, that art of line management. If they use braid, this technique nearly doesn't work because that lure doesn't sink down naturally. If I made a big cast now and just let a big bow in the line, that wind would take that lure away. So I'm throwing out, I am dropping that line on the water, I'm giving it a bit of slack, and dead set waiting that 20 seconds is the longest 20 seconds in history for it to get down there. So, but anyway, I've got a few more boats in this one to fish. I haven't really lost any big fish today. It's been just a matter of, when I talked to you first, I had a 33 and a bag full of 20 to 24s. Now I've got a 33 and a bag full of, 26 to 29. So in the broad scheme of things, I'm probably 10 places higher than I was earlier. But I haven't lost the Open yet. We'll just wait till tomorrow to do that.
Now, the the BREAM Australian Open is an event that's been going for a long time, since 2004. We've run a lot of them. What have been some of the highlights over that that decade-long history for you?
Well, the first one, of course, was the very first one we ran in conjunction with the 4x4 and fishing show, where we had to take the boats off the back of the cars and push them in to the arena. And man, it was packed. I had to get up into the rafters to take a photo. There were literally thousands of people watching Dave Moss's big reef science tank and us filling him with the bream that the guys caught. That was awesome. After that, it was Greg Lee and Pat DeBattista bringing in a 5 kilo bag on the last day, when 5 kilo bags were quite rare, and coming from like 10th place to first to win that Open. That was pretty awesome. And of course, one of my personal favourites is the one we had a few years ago, where myself and Mark Healy and Kris Hickson were all separated by 20 grams at the end. And it was especially good because they were 10 and 20 grams less than me. I like that part. And and when you win an Open on top order, doing what you like that's a once in a lifetime experience. I really don't. Oh, and I hooked up there. Oh, I fell off. That's today. I really don't think you can repeat these things a lot. A lot of the guys that fish the tour a lot know that when it's your time to win, you will win. Things will go right. You make every decision will be fine. Every fish like that will stay on instead of falling off. So, the more you do it, the more you think, do what you like doing, and maybe die in the ditch if it doesn't work. I think this will go down this year. I haven't been watching the live show, Simon, but the fact that we've stepped up now, running the tournament on the app, giving unprecedented access to the anglers, I think that's going to stand out in years to come as the time we flick the switch on doing something pretty special, and I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, some of the highlights for me was, that victory where you won by 10 grams was the event where we first ever live streamed, and you did it with a Mevo at the back of the boat. That was quite a giant leap forward for ABT and marketing and exposure of tournament fishing in Australia. And this falls into exactly the same basket. I think we're doing something pretty special for this tournament.
I think the interesting story of that first live stream event, and we reached about 40,000 people from that one occasionally working camera in the boat, was having Adam Costa there. And Adam, if you know Adam, is a loud sort of guy until you put a camera in front of him, and then he just zips it. During that event, and as we were catching fish, they were on a white OSP bent minnow, and it was on the cheapest Daiwa app that you could basically get. He was on the phone to the suppliers buying all the stuff because he knew he was going to sell it next week in the store. I think he's a smart man, and he definitely knows when to shut up, and that's when the camera's on him.
Yeah, exactly right. So, have you got your plan in your pocket for tomorrow at the Hawkesbury?
Yeah, I think so. I've got a fair knowledge. I love the harbour, but I haven't fished it as much as I have the Hawkesbury. The Hawkesbury's I've got a few boats that I found. I went there on practice. There were some big schools of fish under them. I reckon I can pluck a few fish off early, and then I can spend. If I get, half a limit or a couple of nice fish early, I'm confident I can go up Mckeown and catch me a few fish. But when you get a good one up Mckeown, it's going to be a good fish. Like the big ones up there are sort of 34 to 38 centimetres, and they can make a real difference. On a day, if say the river doesn't fire, but they're all on top order and everything's a tough day, you can make up a lot of ground. So, I don't like winning by default, but if all those guys stumble and I can get them on top order tomorrow, that's the way the cards fall. So, also ending today lower in the field means I'm probably a bit more likely to, there's a fish. I'm more likely to do what I like doing. That's a big fish. So this is on 2 pound though, so it always seems bigger than it is. It's getting smaller as it comes up, but I don't think it's going to upgrade now. Let's just pole him in. I'm not going to bother to put him on the app. He felt big at the start, and everything feels big on 2 pound. But I'll give you a look at that little stick minnow there. That's a little Dan Stead painted version of the stick minnow. They love it. No action, just let it fall down, and they jump onto it. So there you go, that's my day. Too many of these guys, not enough of those guys.
So we've got Hawkesbury tomorrow, and we're back on the harbour on Thursday, day 3. And the forecast is for a bit of rain on that last day. It could really turn the fish on.
I hope so, but I think what happens is when it rains, it turns the fish on everywhere. So I think I'll do what I normally do on the harbour on day 3 and go to Middle Harbour and roll the dice because, again, it's sort of a big fish spot, and if they bite, then I'll have a good day no matter where we come. We always have a saying, or I have a saying for Middle Harbour. It's if you're afraid of not being able to get back, that's the day you've got to go. That's the time to go because that wind and the rough water, it's a clear water fishery that likes getting stirred up. And when you stir it up, the fish get a little bit stupider. You know, that's what we like. We like fish that are, they only got a brain this big and we've got a brain this big, but we like every odd in our favour to outsmart them.
That's exactly right, mate. Well, thank you very much for spending some time with us. We are just about done with live for day 1 here at the Open. It's been a great way to start the tournament.
Awesome, mate, and we appreciate your insights. There's some good questions there. You're doing well.
My pleasure, mate. There we are, Steve Morgan, day 1 of the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. On Sydney Harbour today, they are off to the Hawkesbury tomorrow and back to the harbour on day 3. And the time is 1 o'clock, and we have just about, well, we are at the end of our live for day 1. We'll be back again tomorrow morning from 10 a.m. through to 1 p.m. We do it each and every day of the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open. We'll be down at the starts tomorrow. We aren't heading south to the harbour. We are off north to the Hawkesbury for the takeoff tomorrow morning. They will get underway at 7 o'clock. We'll be back here crunching the edit, and we'll get that up live before we do our live at 10 o'clock. That's it. We are done and dusted, folks. I hope you have enjoyed what we have put on this afternoon and this morning. We've had a great time. We're ironing out a few bugs, getting our audio sorted, and we'll be back on day 2 bigger and better. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.